Clara Whittaker began each morning with a debt. Not breakfast. Not a shower. Not the hope that the day might be kinder than the one before it. Her thumb found the hospital app before she was fully awake. Hospital balance, paid. She read the words twice, then a third time until the knot under her ribs loosened. Another week of medicine. Another week of machines, nurses, clean sheets, and thin blankets tucked around her mother's sleeping body. Another week her mother kept breathing. That had to be enough. Clara slid the phone into her pocket and practiced a smile in the dim glass of her attic window. It came easily now. Too easily. Smiling kept questions away. Crying only made people curious, and curiosity was dangerous in the Montgomery house. Below her, the mansion had already begun its morning performance. Doors opened and shut. Water ran through old pipes. Someone crossed the marble hall in sharp heels. Then Bianca's voice sliced up the staircase. Clara. Clara was already moving. Coming. She hurried down from the attic, smoothing both hands over her academy blouse. The shirt was too small across her chest and too wide at the shoulders, a hand-me-down altered badly and worn thin at the seams. She tucked it into her navy skirt and tried not to notice how the fabric pulled. It would not matter. Bianca could mock a silk gown if Clara wore it. The door to Bianca's bedroom was open. Clara stepped inside just as a pair of glossy shoes landed near her feet. "You're late," Bianca said. Clara glanced at the clock on the vanity. "It's not 7 yet." Bianca turned from the mirror, one perfect blonde curl clipped between her fingers. "Did I ask for the time?" Clara lowered her eyes. "No. Sorry. Polish them. I did last night." Bianca's reflection smiled without warmth. "Then do them again." Clara knelt. The leather was already spotless, black and bright enough to reflect the lace curtains. She rubbed the cloth over it anyway while Bianca curled her hair and hummed under her breath. "You missed a spot." Clara kept her head down. "There isn't one." The humming stopped. In the mirror, Bianca's pale blue eyes sharpened. "What was that?" Clara's throat tightened. "I'll go over it again." "Good." By the time Bianca was satisfied, Clara had cleaned the shoes twice, packed Bianca's bag, laid out her gloves, wiped foundation from the vanity, and carried breakfast down to the dining room. She had 3 minutes left for herself. 1 piece of toast, already cold. She ate standing near the sideboard. Alpha Montgomery entered while she was still trying to swallow the first bite. The room always changed around him. Even in a tailored morning jacket with silver in his hair, he carried the size and authority of a man other wolves moved aside for without thinking. His gaze touched Clara, paused, and narrowed. "You've lost weight." Clara blinked. No one had mentioned her body lately unless they were laughing at it. "I don't know, Alpha." He nodded toward the fruit bowl. "Eat more than toast." For a foolish second, gratitude warmed her. Bianca killed it with a scoff. "Don't encourage her, father. She's big enough already." The room went quiet. Clara set the toast down. Alpha Montgomery did not look at his daughter. He adjusted one cufflink, then the other. "The car is waiting." That was the way of it. He did not strike Clara. He did not call her names. He paid St. Catherine's Hospital on time and kept her mother alive. He also never stopped Bianca. Clara had learned to hold both truths in the same hand and not let either one cut too deep. Alpha Academy rose from the hill like a fortress pretending to be a school. Gray stone towers pierced the morning clouds. Carved wolves guarded the front steps. Banners from old packs hung along the courtyard walls, their colors snapping in the wind. Students crossed the grounds in clean uniforms, crests shining over their hearts. When Bianca stepped out of the car, the courtyard noticed at once. "Bianca. Future Luna. You look amazing." She accepted it all with the ease of someone born expecting praise. Clara climbed out behind her with 3 bags, a garment box, Bianca's fencing gear, and an armful of textbooks stacked high enough to block half her view. A laugh rose nearby. "Look," Bianca brought her pack mule. "I thought servants had to use the back entrance." "No," another girl said brightly. "That's just her omega." Heat climbed Clara's neck. She kept walking. Reacting fed them. Silence did not stop them, but it gave them less to chew on. A boy called out, "Careful. If she drops all that, the courtyard might crack." More laughter. Clara tightened her grip until the book corners bit into her fingers. From the garden beyond the path, lavender drifted through the air. She fixed on that scent. In. Out. Left foot. Right foot. Move faster, Bianca snapped. Clara did. First period was combat strategy, which meant Professor Whitman and his crystal screen. The old beta stood before a projected map of a mountain valley, hands folded behind his back, eyes bright with the pleasure of a lesson he expected them to fail. "Your force is outnumbered 3-1, he said. "You cannot call reinforcements. You cannot surrender. How do you win?" Hands went up. "Ambush from the trees." "No. Retreat and split their line. You lose half your soldiers before nightfall. Take the commander hostage." "With what opening?" Answer after answer died under his dry patience. Beside Clara, Bianca gripped her pen hard enough to turn her knuckles white. Clara looked at the map. The obvious routes were traps. The open valley would crush a smaller force. The ridge on the west looked useful until the supply road exposed the rear. Then she noticed the east slope, heavy with unstable snow and loose rock, and the river below it. Thin ice. The shadowing gave it away. Small dark breaks webbed across the surface where the projection light caught them. She leaned toward Bianca before she could stop herself. "Collapse the eastern ridge," Clara murmured. "It forces them down onto the river. The ice won't hold their weight." Bianca went still. "What?" "The cracks. Look at the shadows." Bianca's eyes moved across the map. A moment later, her hand rose. Professor Whitman turned. "Miss Montgomery?" "The winning move is to bring down the eastern ridge," Bianca said. Her voice was crisp now, confident. "The enemy is funneled onto unstable ice, and their numbers become a weakness." The room fell silent. Then Professor Whitman smiled. "Excellent. Very good, Miss Montgomery." Applause started at the front and spread. Bianca sat straighter. Clara looked down at her notebook and erased the little sketch she had made in the margin. No one glanced her way. That was all right. People who went unseen had a better chance of surviving. Lunch was worse. It always was. Clara carried her tray toward the corner table she used because no one else wanted it. She was nearly there when someone slammed into her shoulder. Milk splashed across her blouse. Her tray hit the floor. The plate cracked. Mashed potatoes slid across the polished tile. A whistle came from behind her. Wow. Graceful. So clumsy. Clara dropped to her knees at once. "I'm sorry." A small first-year girl nearby reached for a napkin. "It wasn't your fault." Before the girl could help, Bianca appeared. "It was," she said. The first year froze. Bianca looked down at Clara with cool disgust. If she watched where she was going instead of staring at food, she might not embarrass herself. The cafeteria laughed because Bianca had given them permission. The first year stepped back. Clara gathered the broken pieces of the plate. One shard slid across her palm. Blood welled in a clean red line. She did not make a sound. Pain was simple. Pain ended. Humiliation stayed longer. By late afternoon, something had changed. Clara felt it before she understood it. The academy's usual noise bent out of shape. Students stopped in the courtyard. Teachers crossed the grounds too quickly. Two prefects hurried past the fountain, faces tight. What happened? Someone went missing. No, I heard they found someone. A body? The word traveled through the crowd like frost. Clara stood near the edge of the courtyard with Bianca's books against her chest and her cut hand hidden in her sleeve. Alpha Academy was neutral ground. Every pack knew it. Violence here was forbidden by law, tradition, and fear of what the old families would do to anyone who broke the peace. Bodies did not appear here. A sudden black rush burst from the bell tower. Ravens shot into the evening sky, crying harshly as they scattered over the courtyard. Students flinched. A few screamed. The fear rose fast after that. Clara felt it. Not guessed. Not saw. Felt. It brushed against her mind in hundreds of small, sharp waves. Panic. Confusion. Grief. Excitement from the ones who loved disaster. Fear from the younger students who did not know where to stand or whom to trust. Under Clara's skin, her wolf lifted her head. One breath would be enough. One thought. Clara could push calm through the courtyard like warmth through cold water. She could quiet the panic, soften the terror, make every racing heart slow. She could help them. No. Her bleeding hand curled into a fist. The cut burned. She held on to that small pain and used it to lock everything else down. Not here. Never here. She buried the instinct. Buried the power. Buried the part of herself that no one could be allowed to see. If anyone learned what she was, she would not live long enough to turn 21. Sebastian SPOV. Sebastian Westbrook Hen-T slept in 3 days. Not truly. Closing his eyes wasn't he the same as sleeping. He learned that years ago. Whenever exhaustion finally dragged him under, his wolf jolted awake minutes later, snarling at invisible enemies lurking inside the darkness of his mind. His body healed faster than any werewolf alive, but his mind never rested. Sleep had become a luxury he no longer remembered. Another nightmare? Declan's amused voice echoed across the empty training arena. Sebastian rolled his shoulders, tightening the leather wraps around his fists. I didn't sleep. Declan raised an eyebrow. So, another normal night. Sebastian didn't answer. Across the arena, Nolan sighed while examining the fresh claw marks carved into the stone wall. You almost shifted again, Nolan said. I know. You nearly killed your guards yesterday. I know. And your physician said. I know. Declan laughed. You know, yet here you are, looking like a corpse. Sebastian shot him a flat look. I appreciate your concern. You should. Declan slung an arm over his shoulder. If you die before graduation, I'll have to listen to all those girls crying. I'd rather die. See? Declan grinned at Nolan. Still has a sense of humor. No. Exactly. The arena doors opened before another joke could escape. Professor Whitman strode inside. Future alphas. All three straightened instinctively. The council wishes to remind you that the masked ball is only 5 days away. Declan groaned dramatically. Politics. Diplomacy, the professor corrected. Same thing. Sebastian barely listened. The annual masked ball. One night every year where heirs from every allied pack gathered under enchanted masks. No names. No pack insignias. No hierarchy. Just wolves pretending bloodlines didn't matter. He hated it. Too many lies hidden behind beautiful faces. You're expected to attend, Professor Whitman continued. Especially you, Sebastian. I'll be there. You'll dance. Professor Whitman said flatly, I wasn't asking. You'll smile. Again, he said flatly. Sebastian looked at him. The professor wisely lowered his expectations. Or at least try not to terrify the guests. Declan snorted. No promises. Training lasted another 2 hours. Sebastian defeated every opponent in under a minute. Too fast. Too brutal. By the final match, no one volunteered to face him. He wasn't proud of it. Strength earned respect. Control earned trust. Lately, he had neither. His wolf paced endlessly beneath his skin. Restless. Irritable. Hungry. It wanted something. It always wanted something. He simply didn't know what. The academy clinic smelled of herbs and silver. When Sebastian entered, Dr. Elaine didn't bother greeting him. She simply held out another bottle. New sleeping tonic. It won't work. You haven't tried it. Dr. Elaine pouted. She had spent almost all night making it. I've tried 42. This one is different. You said the same thing for the last 12, Sebastian muttered. She pinched the bridge of her nose. Humor an old woman. Sebastian accepted the bottle anyway. Not because he believed it. Because refusing would only earn him another lecture. She glanced at the dark circles beneath his eyes. You'll collapse eventually. I won't. You will. My wolf won't let me. Sebastian groaned. Exactly. She folded her arms. A wolf that never sleeps eventually stops listening to reason. Silence. You know the stories. He did. Alphas driven insane by endless exhaustion. Unable to distinguish friend from enemy. Forced to be put down by their own packs. His father never spoke of them. But Sebastian had read enough history. He understood what waited at the end of this road. Madness. Night fell slowly over Alpha Academy. Students laughed in the gardens. Music drifted from the dormitories. Somewhere nearby, Omegas gathered for evening study sessions. Everything felt normal. Except him. Sebastian stood alone on the balcony overlooking the moonlit grounds. The moon should have soothed his wolf. Instead, the beast scratched harder inside his chest. Restless. Always restless. You've been avoiding us. Nolan stepped beside him. Sebastian didn't deny it. You heard about the missing students? There are already 2 disappearances. I did. Sebastian said in a low voice. He didn't like the news. What do you think? Sebastian watched ravens circle above the bell tower. They didn't run away. You think they're dead? Nolan raised his eyebrows. I think someone wanted them gone. Nolan frowned. The Academy says there isn't enough evidence. The Academy is wrong. A cold wind swept across the balcony. For just a second. Sebastian caught a scent. Lavender. Wildflowers. Rain. It felt soft. Gentle. Impossible. His wolf surged forward so violently that Sebastian grabbed the stone railing. Find her, the wolf demanded. The words echoed inside his mind. Find her. His heartbeat quickened. What is it? Nolan asked. Sebastian searched the courtyard below. Hundreds of students. None familiar. The scent vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Nothing. But his wolf disagreed. It had recognized something. Someone. Someone it had never met. Yet somehow missed. Meanwhile, across campus, Clara sat alone beneath the Academy's oldest oak tree. She held her bleeding palm over the grass. Tiny silver threads seeped from her fingertips. The injured sparrow lying beside her shivered once. Then its broken wing slowly straightened. The bird blinked. Hopped. And flew into the night. Clara smiled faintly. Be careful. Healing minds. Calming emotions. Guiding dreams. Her gift had never been meant for violence. Which was why she feared it. A twig snapped behind her. Clara's smile disappeared instantly. She wiped every trace of silver light from her fingers before turning around. It was only Hannah. The energetic Omega dropped onto the grass with 2 steaming cups of cocoa. I knew I'd find you here. Clara accepted one gratefully. Thanks. Hannah nudged her shoulder. You heard? The missing students? Hannah nodded. They found a body this time belonging to the first missing student. Clara's stomach tightened. So the rumors are true. Worse. Hannah lowered her voice. They say the body looked. She hesitated, peaceful. Clara frowned. What do you mean? As if they died in their sleep. Then again, she was found inside the cafeteria freezer. A chill crawled up her spine. That wasn't normal. Werewolves fought. Even dying wolves struggled until the very end. No one died peacefully. Unless, no. Clara immediately crushed the thought. Her abilities were forbidden. Surely she wasn't the only one capable of manipulating the mind, was she? Above them, the Academy clock tower struck midnight. Far away, Sebastian Westbrook stood sleepless beneath the same moon. Neither of them realized it. But fate had already begun weaving their paths together. And in 5 days, one broken shoe would change both their lives forever. The masked ball was all anyone could talk about. By the time Clara stepped onto campus the next morning, the Academy had transformed overnight. Purple and silver banners hung from every tower. Crystal lanterns floated through the air, enchanted to glow brighter as the full moon approached. Students hurried between classes carrying garment bags instead of textbooks. Girls compared jewels. Boys argued over custom-tailored suits. Even professors seemed distracted. The Northern Alpha heir will definitely choose a dance partner tonight. I heard every noble family in the Eastern Territories is attending. Do you think Sebastian Westbrook will finally smile? Clara smiled faintly to herself. The academy buzzed with excitement. While she had so much work to do. Bianca. A group of girls surrounded Bianca the moment she reached the academy gates. Have you decided on your gown? I had mine flown in from Italy, another girl bragged. My stylist says silver will be this year's color. Bianca flipped her platinum hair over one shoulder. My dress was handmade. Several girls gasped. Seriously? Only one exists. Another chorus of admiration followed. Clara stood quietly behind them, carrying 3 garment bags, 2 shoe boxes, and Bianca's makeup case. No one acknowledged her. And she preferred it that way. And of course Sebastian will ask you to dance. Obviously. I mean, you're practically royalty. Clara adjusted the heavy bags before following Bianca into class. That afternoon, Bianca skipped every lecture. You're taking notes. Clara looked up. What? For me. But Professor Whitman. You'll manage. She tossed her academy tablet onto Clara's desk. And don't forget my chemistry assignment. Clara nodded. Yes. By the end of the school day, she had completed 2 sets of notes. 1 assignment. 1 essay. And copied every lecture by hand. Bianca never even thanked her. The Montgomery mansion was even more chaotic than the academy. Designers. Florists. Hairstylists. Makeup artists. Servants rushed through every hallway carrying flowers, gowns, ribbons, crystal boxes, and jewelry. Clara. She had barely stepped through the door. Yes? Carry these. A maid shoved 6 hat boxes into her arms. Before she'd taken 3 steps. Clara. Another servant called out to her. The florist needs help. 5 minutes later. Clara. The kitchen needs more champagne upstairs. Then. Bianca wants you. Clara hurried upstairs. Bianca stood in the center of her enormous bedroom while 4 designers fussed over an extravagant silver gown covered in thousands of tiny crystals. What took you so long? I'm sorry, Clara said. Zip me. Clara carefully fastened the delicate fabric. The dress fit Bianca perfectly. Beautiful. Elegant. Like moonlight woven into silk, Bianca admired herself in the mirror. Perfect. Then she noticed Clara looking. What? Nothing. Jealous? Bianca loved to tease Clara like this. Clara quickly shook her head. No. You should be. Bianca's friends who tagged along to beautify themselves in the Montgomery Manor laughed. My father says every alpha heir will be there tonight. She smirked at her own reflection. They'll all be looking at me. Clara quietly stepped back. She hoped they would. Maybe then no one would notice her. By late afternoon, the mansion finally settled into a rare moment of silence. Everyone was busy preparing for the evening. Clara slipped upstairs to the tiny attic room she'd called home for almost 3 years. She locked the door. Only then did she kneel beside the old wooden trunk beneath her bed. Inside, carefully folded beneath a faded blanket, was a deep lavender gown. Simple. Nothing compared to Bianca's masterpiece. But beautiful nonetheless. Clara ran trembling fingers across the soft fabric. She'd saved for almost 2 years. Every tutoring payment. Every coin she'd earned helping younger students study. $1 at a time. Until she'd finally bought it. It was the first beautiful thing she'd ever owned. Next to it rested a velvet box. Clara opened it gently. Inside lay a pair of crystal heels. Not expensive. Not designer. One heel had already been repaired once. But they had belonged to her mother. They're yours now. Her mother's tired smile flashed through Clara's memory. When you find someone who looks at you the way your father looked at me, she had laughed softly, wear them. Clara brushed away the sting in her eyes. I miss you, Mom. She carefully changed into the dress. The lavender fabric draped gently over her curves instead of hiding them. For once. She didn't look like Bianca's maid. She looked pretty. Really pretty. She turned toward the cracked mirror. Loose curls framed her face. The dress shimmered softly whenever she moved. Even the tiny silver embroidery caught the afternoon light. She smiled. A real smile. One she hadn't worn in years. Maybe. Just tonight. She could pretend she belonged at Alpha Academy too. There was a knock. Clara? She froze. Before she could answer, the attic door swung open. Bianca stepped inside. Behind her stood 3 girls from school. Oh, Bianca's smile disappeared. For a long second, no one spoke. The girls stared. One whispered, "She actually looks pretty." Another nodded before catching herself. I mean. Bianca's expression darkened. Her eyes slowly traveled from Clara's face, to the dress to the crystal heels. What, she asked quietly, are you wearing? Clara instinctively stepped back. My dress. You bought this? Clara nodded. I've been saving. For this? Yes. Bianca laughed. It wasn't loud. It was worse. Cold. Mocking. You seriously thought you could attend the masked ball looking like that? Clara's smile faded. I just wanted. You wanted what? Bianca took another step. To embarrass me? No. You live in my house. No. My father pays for your mother's treatment. I know. And you thought you'd show up pretending you're one of us? Clara lowered her eyes. I never said that. No, Bianca smiled cruelly. But everyone would think it. Before Clara understood what was happening. Riot. The sound tore through the tiny room. Clara gasped. Bianca had grabbed the skirt of the lavender gown, and ripped it straight down the front. No. Another tear. Fabric fluttered onto the floor. Bianca, stop. Another. 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 Within seconds, 2 years of saving lay in ruined pieces around Clara's feet. One of the girls laughed nervously. Bianca. She's too fat for this dress anyway. Another rip echoed through the room. It would be split the moment she danced. The room fell silent. Clara stared blankly at the shredded fabric in Bianca's hands. Something inside her cracked with it. Bianca tossed the ruined dress onto the floor. You know your place now? She glanced at the crystal heels. And those? Without waiting for an answer, she kicked the velvet box across the room. The shoes tumbled out, one striking the wall before landing upside down on the wooden floor. They're old. She curled her lip. Throw them away. Then she turned and walked out. Her friends followed. One glanced back at Clara. For just a moment, guilt flickered across the girl's face. But she still left. The attic door clicked shut. Silence swallowed the room. Clara slowly sank to her knees. Her hands trembled as she gathered the torn pieces of lavender fabric. It couldn't be fixed. Not before tonight, not ever. A single tear slipped down her cheek. Then another. Soon she couldn't stop. She pressed the ruined dress against her chest and cried as quietly as she could, because after years in the Montgomery household, she'd learned even heartbreak had to be silent. On the floor beside her lay one crystal heel. Its glass caught the fading sunlight spilling through the attic window. Unnoticed by Clara, the repaired heel had loosened from the impact against the wall. One more hard step, and it would break completely. Clara's POV. Clara didn't remember leaving the attic. One moment she had been clutching the shredded remains of her lavender gown. The next. She found herself outside her mother's hospital room, tears blurring the white hallway until everything became a haze of light. She knocked softly before entering. The room smelled faintly of medicine and lavender. The curtains were half open, allowing the orange glow of sunset to spill across the bed. Her mother looked smaller than she had only a week ago. Too small. Her once chestnut hair had thinned, and her cheeks were pale against the pillows, but when she saw Clara, she smiled. My flower. That was all it took. Clara rushed to the bedside and collapsed onto her knees. I'm sorry, the words dissolved into sobs. I ruined everything. Her mother gently stroked her tangled curls. No, you didn't, love. I wanted, Clara's voice broke. I only wanted to be beautiful for one night. You are beautiful. Clara shook her head. Bianca said. I don't care what Bianca said. Her mother's frail fingers lifted Clara's chin. I carried you beneath my heart for 9 months. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. I know exactly how beautiful my daughter is. Clara bit her lip so hard it hurt. She tore it apart. The dress? Clara nodded. I saved for almost 2 years. Silence filled the room. Then, her mother smiled. The same mysterious smile she always wore whenever she was planning something. Open my bedside drawer. Confused, Clara obeyed. Inside lay an old crystal communicator. Her mother motioned for it. Someone owes me a favor and now it's time for her to pay it back. The crystal glowed softly. After several moments, a woman's voice echoed through it. Madeline speaking. It's been a long time. A gasp came from the other end. Helena? It's me. Another silence. Then, my goddess. You sound terrible. Her mother laughed weakly. I look worse. Clara quietly looked away, feeling as though she was intruding. Her mother continued softly. My daughter needs your help. I'll do anything. I know. She smiled. You always said if I ever needed one last miracle. Madeline interrupted immediately. I'm coming. The crystal dimmed. The entire conversation had lasted less than a minute. Clara frowned. Mom? You'll see, Blossom, her mother said, a miracle is coming. 40 minutes later, a knock sounded from the hospital room door. A tall woman dressed in deep violet silk entered. Silver threaded through her dark hair. Sharp eyes. Elegant posture. Even the hospital nurse who was about to deliver Clara's mom's daily drugs looked nervous around this woman. Madeline, Clara whispered. Her mother chuckled. Once upon a time, she coughed, we caused quite a bit of trouble together. Madeline entered the room carrying 3 enormous garment cases. She walked straight toward the bed before kneeling beside Clara's mother. You've gotten old. Her mother laughed. So have you. You liar. The 2 women embraced carefully. Then Madeline turned toward Clara. So, she smiled warmly. You're the little girl she always brag about. Clara blinked. She talks about me? Every chance she gets. Then she added cautiously, at least before she is sick. Madeline looked her up and down. Then she nodded once. Perfect. Clara frowned. Perfect? We're making Belle. Within minutes the quiet hospital room became wonderfully chaotic. Madeline told the nurse to send word to the mansion staff about Clara needing help. Word spread through the mansion. Somehow, every maid who had ever worked with Clara quietly slipped away from their duties and come to the hospital to help. Mrs. Patricia from the kitchen. Iris from the laundry. Old Ruth, who polished the silver. Even the gardener's daughter. Each carried something. Flowers. Hairpins. Jewelry. Ribbons. Clara always helped my son with reading. She stayed with me when my husband died. She fixed my daughter's school uniform. She never asked for anything. One by one, they surrounded her. Not out of duty. Out of love. Clara stared at them in disbelief. I didn't. Mrs. Patricia smiled. You don't remember every kindness you've shown. But we do. Tears stung Clara's eyes again. Only this time. They weren't sad ones. Madeline opened the first garment bag. Everyone gasped. The gown shimmered like twilight itself. Layers of flowing violet silk melted into deep midnight at the hem, while countless tiny crystals glittered like scattered stars. Silver vines climbed delicately across the bodice. It was elegant. Regal. Nothing like the simple dress Clara had saved for. It was art. My masterpiece, Madeline declared. And tonight. She smiled at Clara. It belongs to you. I can't. You can. It must cost. It was made for someone who deserved to feel beautiful. Madeline's expression softened. I simply hadn't met her yet, until you. The maid spent the next hour transforming Clara. Warm water scented with lavender washed away the day's tears. Her curls were brushed until they cascaded in soft waves down her back. Tiny crystal flowers were woven through her hair. Gentle makeup highlighted her bright eyes and rosy lips without hiding the freckles scattered across her nose. When she finally stepped before the mirror, Clara forgot how to breathe. The woman staring back wasn't thinner. She wasn't taller. She hadn't changed. Yet somehow, she had never seen herself like this before. The gown embraced her curves instead of concealing them. The rich purple brought warmth to her complexion. She looked confident. Beautiful. Like someone worthy of being admired. A maid whispered behind her, "I knew it." Another smiled. "She's gorgeous." Clara covered her mouth, "Is that really me?" Her mother answered, "It always was." Her mother held out a final gift. A glittering purple masquerade mask. Moonstones sparkled along its edges, catching the evening light. "One more thing." She motioned for Clara to kneel beside the bed. Clara obeyed. Her mother rested both trembling hands against her cheeks. Then she began whispering in an ancient language. Soft. Melodic. Powerful. Silver light drifted from her fingertips, wrapping gently around Clara's face before dissolving into the air. The room became strangely still. Even the candles stopped flickering. When the magic ended, her mother looked exhausted. "What was that?" "A glamour." Madeline answered quietly. "It won't change how you look." Her mother smiled. "It changes how people remember you." Clara frowned. They'll see a beautiful girl in a purple mask. But afterward, they won't remember who she was. Her mother's thumb brushed away a tear on Clara's cheek. For one night, she whispered to her daughter, "You won't be an omega. You won't be pitted. You won't be judged. You'll simply be." She smiled through tears. "Clara." The words lodged in Clara's throat. "Mom. Go." Her mother cupped her face one last time. "Fall in love. Dance. Laugh. Forget your burdens. If only for one evening. Just remember your promise to me." Clara nodded. She had promised her mother to never reveal her real power, her real wolf. But the rest? Dancing, laughing, even falling in love, she might just be able to do that even for only one night. One night was all Clara needed. Outside the hospital wing, the Montgomery family's elderly driver, Mr. Cooper, waited beside the black sedan. He had driven Clara to visit her mother for years. He opened the door with a grandfatherly smile. "You look just like your mother." Clara laughed softly. She said the same thing. He tipped his hat. "Then I'd better get you to the ball before every young alpha there loses his chance." Clara blushed. "Mr. Cooper." As the car pulled away from the estate, she looked back one last time. Her mother stood at the hospital window, wrapped in a blanket, raising a trembling hand in farewell. Clara pressed her own hand against the glass. "I'll be back soon." Her mother couldn't hear her. But she smiled anyway. The moon rose higher as the academy lights appeared in the distance. For the first time in years, excitement fluttered inside Clara's chest. Tonight, no one would know she was the bullied Omega who carried Bianca's books. Tonight, she would simply be a girl beneath a glittering purple mask. And somewhere beyond those shining ballroom doors, fate was already waiting for her. Sebastian's POV. Sebastian Westbrook hated masquerades. They were little more than elaborate lies wrapped in silk and jewels. Tonight, Alpha Academy glittered beneath a full moon, transformed into something out of an old fairy tale. Thousands of enchanted lanterns floated through the night sky, casting silver light over the sprawling castle grounds. Music drifted from the grand ballroom while noble airs from every allied pack laughed beneath ornate masks. No one knew who anyone was. That was the point. For one night each year, alphas danced with omegas, betas with nobles, rivals with strangers. Bloodlines disappeared behind masks. Sebastian wished he could disappear with them. "Smile." Declan elbowed him. "You look like you're attending a funeral." Sebastian adjusted the black wolf mask covering the upper half of his face. "I'd rather be." "You're supposed to dance." "I'm supposed to survive the evening." Nolan chuckled softly. I'll consider that progress. Last year you threatened to jump off the balcony. I was serious. Declan sighed dramatically. Every girl here wants one dance with Sebastian Westbrook. I don't. Declan blinked. You're not helping. The orchestra began another waltz. Across the ballroom, countless couples glided across polished marble floors beneath crystal chandeliers. Sebastian remained exactly where he was. Several young women had already approached him. He declined every invitation. Some politely. Some less politely. His patience had vanished along with his ability to sleep. A week. 7 days. That was the longest stretch yet. His wolf had barely quieted since the strange scent in the courtyard 2 nights ago. Lavender. Rain. Wildflowers. It lingered in his memory like an unfinished dream. His wolf paced restlessly. Find her. Again. Always the same command. Find her. Sebastian clenched his jaw. There is no her. Declan looked over. What? I wasn't he talking to you? Right. Nolan exchanged a worried glance with Declan. Neither of them spoke. An hour later, Sebastian slipped out of the ballroom. The music became a distant murmur behind him. Fresh night air filled his lungs as he walked through the academy gardens. Moonlight spilled across marble pathways lined with white roses. Finally. Silence. He closed his eyes. Just for a moment. His head pounded. Every heartbeat echoed painfully against his skull. His wolf whimpered. Tired. So am I. The words left his lips before he realized he'd spoken aloud. He leaned against a stone pillar. If only. Just one night. One peaceful night. Was that truly impossible? A twig snapped. Sebastian's eyes flew open. Someone was there. Couldn't he smell them? Couldn't he hear their breathing? Only. A flash of silver. Instinct took over. He twisted just as a dagger shot through the air. The blade sliced across his shoulder instead of piercing his heart. Pain exploded through his body. The metallic scent of blood filled the garden. Another strike came immediately. This time coated in dark violet poison. Sebastian caught the assassin's wrist. The figure wore an elaborate raven mask and moved with terrifying precision. Not a student. Or at least not an ordinary student. The assassin muttered something beneath their breath. Dark mist erupted between them. Sebastian's vision blurred, his wolf roared. Danger. He threw the attacker backward with enough force to crack the garden wall. The masked figure staggered. For one heartbeat Sebastian saw their eyes. Fear. Not determination. Fear. Impossible, the assassin whispered. Before Sebastian could react, the figure disappeared into the darkness. Gone. Silence returned. Then came the pain. Not from the wound. From within. His wolf surged forward like a tidal wave. No. Not now. His breathing became ragged. His claws lengthened. Bones cracked. The poison on the dagger. Instead of killing him like the assassin intended, instead, it made him lose control. No. His voice deepened into a growl. The ballroom was only a short distance away. Hundreds of students. If he shifted without control, his vision blurred red. His heartbeat thundered. He stumbled away from the castle instead, forcing himself deeper into the gardens. Away from people. Away from innocent students. Every instinct screamed at him to surrender. To let the beast take over. It would be easier. No more exhaustion. No more pain, just instinct. Just violence. No. He slammed his fist against an ancient oak tree. The trunk splintered. Another roar tore from his throat. The full moon burned overhead. His wolf clawed against his ribs, desperate for freedom. Run. Hunt. Tear. Sebastian dropped to one knee. His body shook violently. Couldn't he stop it? Couldn't he? Then. A voice. Soft. Almost too quiet to hear. A woman was singing. It wasn't one of the ballroom songs. No instruments accompanied it. Just a gentle lullaby carried by the wind. The melody was unfamiliar, yet something deep inside him recognized it. Ancient. Warm. Safe. The frantic pounding in his chest slowed. His wolf paused. Then he smelled it. That scent that had been haunting his wolf, haunting himself for almost a week. Lavender. Rain. Wildflowers. That scent. The same one. Closer now. So close. His wolf stopped fighting. Instead, it listened. The lullaby floated through the moonlit garden like silk brushing against still water. Sleep now, the words were barely audible. The moon will guard your dreams. Sebastian searched through blurred vision. Between silver roses stood a young woman wearing a simple purple mask. Moonlight wrapped around her like a halo. Long dark curls spilled over her shoulders. Her lavender gown swayed gently in the breeze. He couldn't see her face clearly. Only soft eyes watching him with quiet concern. She wasn't afraid. She should have been. Every alpha in the kingdom would have run from a wolf on the verge of madness. She took one cautious step closer. Still singing. The melody wrapped around his mind. Around his wolf. It didn't command. It didn't force. It soothed. Like cool rain falling over wildfire. His wolf lowered its head. The rage dissolved. The unbearable pressure inside his skull faded. For the first time in years, silence. True silence. Sebastian's knees finally gave out. The woman caught him before he hit the ground. She was surprisingly warm. Her hands were gentle against his face. "You've carried this alone for far too long," she whispered. There was sadness in her voice. Not pity. Understanding. As though she knew exactly what sleepless nights felt like. Sebastian tried to speak. He couldn't. His eyelids suddenly became impossibly heavy. "What?" She smiled behind her mask. It was the smallest smile. Almost hidden. "You can rest now." Rest. The word sounded foreign. Impossible. Yet, his wolf had already curled into itself, content and quiet, as though it had finally found something it had been searching for. Home. That was the feeling. Not the academy. Not his pack. Not his room. Her. Sebastian inhaled one last breath of lavender and rain. The lullaby continued, softer now, as though she were singing only for him. Then darkness claimed him. Not the darkness of nightmares. Not the endless void that had haunted every restless night. This darkness was warm. Gentle. Peaceful. For the first time since he could remember, Sebastian Westbrook truly slept. And somewhere in the distance, as hurried footsteps echoed through the gardens, the mysterious girl gently slipped from his grasp. She never noticed that one of her crystal heels had loosened on the stone path. Nor did she notice the tiny shard of glass that broke free and remained behind, the only clue Sebastian would have when he woke, determined to find the girl who had become his first peaceful dream. Clara's POV. Clara had never seen Alpha Academy like this. The ancient castle shimmered beneath thousands of enchanted lanterns, every stone bathed in silver moonlight. Music floated through the open windows, mingling with laughter and the scent of blooming moonflowers. Carriages lined the entrance. Noble alphas. Betas. Lunas. Pack elders. Everyone glittered beneath elaborate masks. Clara hesitated before stepping from Mr. Cooper's car. "Go on," the elderly driver encouraged with a smile. "Tonight isn't meant for worrying." She smiled back. "Thank you." His eyes softened. "Have fun, Miss Clara." Miss Clara. Not the Omega. Not the babysitter. Just Clara. Her mother's glamour had already begun to work. The moment she entered the ballroom, dozens of eyes drifted toward her. Not with disgust. Not with pity. With curiosity. Who is she? I don't recognize that crest. Maybe she's from one of the southern packs. What a beautiful gown. Clara instinctively looked behind herself. Were they talking about her? No. About the mysterious girl in purple. A server offered her a glass of sparkling cider. "Milady?" She blinked. "Thank you. Milady." She almost laughed. The orchestra began another waltz. Couples drifted across the polished marble floor. For the first time, Clara wasn't carrying anyone's coat. She wasn't holding Bianca's purse. She wasn't serving drinks. She simply wandered. She admired the crystal chandeliers, the enchanted roses blooming from the walls, the paintings depicting generations of alpha kings. It felt like walking through someone else's dream. But after nearly half an hour, the dream became overwhelming. The ballroom was crowded. The conversations blurred together. The perfume. The magic. The laughter. Her wolf, always sensitive to emotions, began absorbing everything around her. Excitement. Jealousy. Desire. Pride. It pressed against her mind until breathing became difficult. I just need, she slipped quietly through the terrace doors. Some air. The gardens were blissfully silent. Evening primroses glowed softly beneath the full moon. The cool breeze immediately cleared her thoughts. Clara smiled, closing her eyes. Much better. She wandered along a winding stone path lined with white, purple, pink blossoms. Then, she heard a metallic clang. Her eyes snapped open. Voices. Someone was fighting. Clara immediately ducked behind an ancient hedge. Through the leaves she caught flashes of movement. Two masked figures. One was impossibly tall. Broad shoulders. Dark formal jacket. A majestic wolf mask. The alpha heir. Sebastian Westbrook. Even beneath the mask, she recognized him from countless academy assemblies. The second figure lunged. A blade flashed beneath the moonlight. Clara's breath caught. No. The dagger buried itself into Sebastian's side. Her hand flew to her mouth. Poison. She smelled wolfsbane immediately. The attacker staggered backward as if confused. Sebastian wasn't collapsing. Instead he was changing. His breathing became ragged. Golden eyes burned beneath the mask. Claws burst from his fingertips. Bones cracked. The assassin's confidence disappeared. This wasn't supposed to happen. They turned and disappeared into the darkness. Clara waited several seconds. Listening. Nothing. Only Sebastian's labored breathing remained. She stepped out slowly. He hadn't noticed her. He couldn't. His entire body trembled. No. He slammed both hands against an oak tree. Wood splintered beneath his strength. His wolf was fighting to break free. Clara's heart sank. She immediately could tell he hasn't slept. Not properly. Not in a very long time. She knew the signs because her mother had taught her. When a wolf remained awake too long, instinct overwhelmed reason. Eventually, madness came. She should leave. She knew she should. If anyone discovered what she was about to do, her secret would be over. Her mother would lose everything. Run. Her mind screamed. Run now. But Sebastian groaned in agony. Please. The broken whisper stopped her. He wasn't begging for help. He was begging himself not to hurt anyone. Not to become a monster. Clara closed her eyes. I'm sorry, Mom. Then she reached inward. Toward the quiet place she deburied years ago. Silver light blossomed beneath her fingertips. Her wolf opened its eyes. For the first time in years, she welcomed it. The world shifted. She no longer stood only in the garden. She stood inside Sebastian's mind. Darkness. Endless. A violent storm raged across a black ocean. At its center, a massive black wolf clawed desperately against invisible chains. It held in pain. Not anger. Pain. It had forgotten what peace felt like. Clara's chest tightened. You've been alone. She stepped closer. The wolf lunged. The chains stopped it. Instead of recoiling, Clara sat on the cold ground. Just as her mother had done whenever frightened children came to their home. She began to sing. A lullaby. Ancient. Gentle. The first song her mother had ever sung to her. Sleep beneath the silver sky. The storm faltered. Stars will guard you through the night. The wolf stopped pulling against its chains. Its ears twitched. Lay your weary heart to rest. The wind grew quieter. The crashing waves became still. You are safe. The enormous wolf slowly lowered its head. Its golden eyes filled with something Clara never expected. Relief. She smiled. You don't have to fight anymore. The chains dissolved. Not because she'd broken them. Because the wolf no longer needed them. It walked toward her, resting its massive head against her shoulder. Like an exhausted child. The storm disappeared. Silence remained. Warm. Peaceful. Safe. Home. Back in the garden. Sebastian's body finally relaxed. His claws withdrew. His breathing steadied. His knees buckled. Oh. Clara barely caught him before he struck the ground. He was heavy. Much heavier than she'd expected. As she struggled to support him. Crack. Something snapped beneath her foot. Her mother's crystal heel. The repaired heel had finally given way. She winced but ignored it. Sebastian's head rested against her shoulder. Without the tension twisting his features, he looked younger. Almost vulnerable. His brows gradually smoothed. A tiny sigh escaped him. Then. He smiled. Only slightly. But it was there. Asleep, Clara whispered. He really fell asleep. The first peaceful sleep he'd had in years. She brushed a strand of dark hair from his forehead before she could stop herself. I hope you dream of something kind. Far away. The academy clock began chiming. 1. 2. 3. Midnight. Clara's eyes widened. Oh no. She looked toward the ballroom. Guests were already leaving. Carriages rolled toward the front gates. Then she saw it. Bianca. Surrounded by her friends, walking toward the Montgomery family car. Panic flooded her chest. If Bianca reached home first. She'd know Clara had never been in the attic. Clara quickly slipped off the broken crystal heel. She didn't notice that a tiny shard and the broken heel cap had been left behind near Sebastian where he had collapsed. She gathered her skirts and ran. Mr. Cooper. The old driver looked up in surprise. There you are. No time to explain. She climbed into the back seat. Can we please leave now? He noticed her flushed cheeks. And your shoe? I'll tell you later. His expression softened. As you wish. The carriage rolled away just as Bianca's friends emerged onto the front steps. Inside the carriage, Clara worked quickly. She removed the glittering purple mask. Pulled the crystal flowers from her hair. Wiped away every trace of makeup with a damp cloth Mr. Cooper silently handed her. The magnificent violet gown stripped off, changed into a plain brown dress she'd brought for the journey. By the time they reached the Montgomery estate, the mysterious girl from the ballroom was gone. Only Clara remained. Mr. Cooper quietly opened the servant's entrance. Go. She squeezed his hand gratefully. Thank you. She slipped through the back door. Up the servant's staircase. Into the attic. She had just tucked in her purple dress and crystal shoes inside a hidden drawer when she heard laughter downstairs. The front doors opened. Bianca was home. A heartbeat later, heavy footsteps approached the attic hallway. Clara's pulse pounded as a knock was heard. Clara? It was Bianca. Clara opened the door, rubbing her eyes as if she'd just awakened. Yes? Bianca narrowed her gaze. You've been here all night? Clara yawned softly. After what happened with my dress, she lowered her eyes. I wasn't feeling well. For a long moment, Bianca simply stared. Then she scoffed. Figures. She turned away. I had the most wonderful evening. The footsteps faded, and Clara slowly closed the door. Only after the lock clicked into place did she lean against it, releasing the breath she'd been holding. She had escaped. By seconds. What she didn't know was that beneath an ancient oak tree, beside the sleeping alpha heir, lay the broken heel of a crystal shoe. The only clue Sebastian Westbrook would have when he woke to search for the mysterious girl who had stolen his nightmares, and given him the first true sleep after a long time. Sebastian's POV. Darkness. No nightmares. No endless forest stained with blood. No desperate howls echoing through his mind. No voices urging him to surrender. There was only silence. Warm. Comforting. Like lying beneath the summer sky with the scent of lavender drifting through the wind. Someone was humming. A lullaby. Soft enough to calm even the most frightened wolf. Sleep beneath the silver sky. The melody lingered just beyond his reach. Sebastian reached toward it. But the voice faded with the morning light. A knock sounded somewhere far away, then another. Sebastian. His eyelids felt impossibly heavy. Wake up. Someone was shaking his shoulder. Sebastian. His eyes slowly opened. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the enormous bedroom in warm gold. His dormitory wasn't truly a dorm. As heir to the Northern Pack, the Academy had granted him a private suite in the Alpha residence. Dark walnut bookshelves lined one wall, filled with military histories and ancient pack records. A roaring fireplace crackled despite the pleasant weather. His king-sized bed sat beneath carved oak pillars bearing the Westbrook family crest, a silver wolf beneath the North Star. Beyond the balcony doors, the Academy grounds stretched endlessly beneath a bright afternoon sky. Afternoon? Sebastian blinked. His mind felt clear. For the first time in years. It wasn't difficult to think. His body felt light. His shoulders no longer ached. Even the constant pressure behind his eyes had vanished. You're awake. Declan sounded dangerously close to crying. Sebastian turned. Declan sat slumped in a velvet armchair beside the bed, his usually immaculate hair sticking in every direction. Nolan stood nearby with folded arms, though the relief in his eyes betrayed his calm expression. You both look terrible, Sebastian said. Declan stared at him. Then laughed. You've got some nerve saying that. What happened? Neither answered immediately. Instead, Declan picked up the crystal clock on Sebastian's bedside table and turned it toward him. Sebastian frowned. Tuesday? Nolan nodded. You went missing Saturday night. His eyes widened. I've been asleep. For 41 hours, Declan added. Silence. Sebastian looked from one friend to the other. That's impossible. We thought so too. Declan leaned forward. The healers couldn't wake you. My father almost called the elders. The physician said you might have fallen into a magical coma. Nolan sighed. We've barely left this room. Sebastian slowly sat upright. Nothing hurt. Nothing. No pounding headache. No trembling hands. No burning exhaustion clawing at his bones. His wolf, he closed his eyes. Usually it paced endlessly inside him. Restless. Violent. Hungry. Now. It was calm, as though lying comfortably beneath a massive tree. Its tail lazily swishing, almost purring. Find her. The thought wasn't demanding. It sounded hopeful. Find her. Sebastian's eyes snapped open. The girl. Declan blinked. What girl? There was someone. Fragments returned. Moonlight. Lavender. A lullaby. Warm hands. A purple mask. Sebastian touched his forehead. It wasn't a dream. You remember something? Not clearly. He stood so abruptly the blanket slid onto the floor. There was an assassin. Declan's expression immediately hardened. We know. You found them? No. They escaped. Sebastian frowned. The poison. The physicians confirmed wolfsbane, said Nolan. Nolan crossed the room toward his desk. They also said something impossible. What? The poison should be killed any wolf instantly, but your alpha blood was stronger, so at the very least it should be driven your wolf completely feral. It almost did. But it didn't. Sebastian looked toward the balcony. It stopped. Neither friend spoke. It calmed. Declan slowly stood. How? Sebastian looked down at his hands. I don't know. Not entirely true. He knew. He simply couldn't explain it. A song. A girl. A scent that felt like home. Within the hour, the headmaster granted Sebastian access to the Academy's enchanted surveillance crystals. The security chamber beneath the administration building resembled an ancient observatory. Dozens of floating crystal spheres projected shimmering images collected from every hallway, courtyard, and entrance. Professor Huxley adjusted several runes. The gardens weren't fully covered, he said regretfully. I only need before and after. The old professor nodded. Images began moving. Students dancing. Servers carrying trays. Musicians. Masked guests. Then, there. A young woman stepped into view. Purple gown. Dark hair with glitter. A glittering mask. She moved through the ballroom with quiet elegance. Sebastian's heartbeat quickened. That's her. Declan leaned closer. We can't see her face. The image blurred strangely whenever they tried to focus. Her features remained indistinct. Like looking through morning mist. Professor Huxley frowned. Interesting. What? A glamour. Sebastian looked at him. Someone deliberately concealed her identity. Can you remove it? He asked Professor Huxley. The professor shook his head. Not without the caster. The image continued. She accepted a drink. Admired the chandeliers. Walked alone. Then disappeared through the terrace doors. The next crystal showed Sebastian himself leaving moments later. Then. Nothing. The garden cameras ended there. The older gardens aren't monitored, Professor Huxley explained. The protective enchantments interfere with crystal recording. Sebastian watched the final image until it faded. She had vanished. Again. Later that evening, Nolan entered Sebastian's suite carrying a small velvet evidence pouch. I almost forgot. Sebastian looked up from the reports covering his desk. What is it? Nolan placed the pouch into his hand. We found this beside you. Sebastian carefully opened it. A tiny crystal fragment rested inside. Beautifully cut. The edge caught the firelight, scattering rainbows across the room. It wasn't just crystal. It belonged to a shoe. More specifically, the heel. Declan whistled. So our mystery girl lost her slipper. Sebastian rubbed his thumb across the fractured edge. For some reason, the tiny piece felt precious. Almost sacred. She caught me. Both friends looked confused. Sebastian continued, when I collapsed. The physician said I should hit the stone path. He stared at the crystal. I didn't. Someone had caught him. His body was a warrior built, specifically trained to be the strongest alpha of his pack. So he knew it wouldn't be easy to catch him. Yet the mysterious girl did. Despite the danger, she had stayed. She could run and save herself. Instead, she calmed his wolf and sung him to sleep. She sung him to sleep. Him when 42 sleeping potions didn't work. When every healer in the academy had given up. She sung him to sleep. His wolf stirred happily. Find her. Sebastian smiled before he even realized it. The expression surprised all three of them. Declan's mouth slowly fell open. Nolan. I see it. Is. Declan leaned closer dramatically. Is Sebastian smiling? It appears so. Someone write this down. Sebastian rolled his eyes. I smiled before. No, Declan said with absolute confidence. You tolerated life. That's different. Sebastian chuckled quietly. Another rarity. His wolf gave a contented rumble. Somewhere in the academy, a girl in a purple gown had saved his life. She had given him something no healer, no physician, no alpha, and no magic had ever managed to give him. Peace. He closed the velvet pouch around the broken crystal heel. I don't care how long it takes. His voice was calm. Certain. I'll find her. Outside his window, the North Star shone brilliantly against the night sky. For the first time in years, Sebastian looked forward to tomorrow. Clara's POV. Clara couldn't stop smiling. She tried. She truly did. Every time she caught herself humming the lullaby while folding laundry or arranging Bianca's books, she'd quickly press her lips together. But it always returned. Like sunlight after rain. For one night. She had been free. No one had called her fat. No one had laughed when she entered a room. No one had looked at her with pity. For one magical evening. She had simply been a girl. And somehow. She had made someone smile. Or at least had given him a peaceful sleep. He was smiling during his sleep. The thought sent warmth rushing to her cheeks all over again. Clara. She nearly dropped Bianca's hairbrush. Why yes. Bianca narrowed her eyes from in front of the vanity. You've been smiling. Clara blinked. I have? You've smiled 6 times this morning. Have I? Bianca folded her arms. What happened? Nothing. You won the lottery? Clara laughed awkwardly. No. You met someone? And no. The answer came much too quickly. Bianca's eyes narrowed even further. You're acting strange. I'm just, Clara desperately searched for an excuse, happy my mother is doing a little better. The lie left a bitter taste in her mouth. Her mother wasn't doing better. She simply couldn't tell Bianca the truth. Thankfully, Bianca only shrugged. Whatever. She tossed a pile of textbooks into Clara's arms. Carry these. The warmth in Clara's chest dimmed, but it didn't disappear. She followed Bianca toward the academy. Still smiling. By lunchtime, Alpha Academy was louder than Clara had ever heard it. Students crowded around the enormous announcement board in the central courtyard. Voices overlapped. Did you hear? They're actually searching for her. I heard Sebastian Westbrook personally requested it. What girl? The one from the masked ball. Clara. Hannah grabbed Clara's wrist so suddenly she almost dropped her lunch tray. Come with me. Before Clara could protest, Hannah dragged her behind the library where hardly anyone ventured during breaks. What is it? Clara asked. Instead of answering, Hannah shoved her academy tablet into Clara's hands. The announcement. Clara looked down. At the very top of the academy bulletin, 3 names appeared. Sebastian Westbrook. Declan Prescott. Nolan Hartley. The 3 Alpha heirs had issued a joint statement. Clara's heart skipped. Hashtag the search for Violet Bell hashtag. To the mysterious young woman wearing a purple masquerade mask during the moon ball. I owe you my life. I do not know your name. I do not know your pack. I do not know your face. But I remember your voice. You sang a lullaby unlike anything I have ever heard. If anyone knows the young woman who wore a purple gown and left behind part of a crystal heel, please come forward. To prevent false claims, anyone claiming to be her must. 1. Possess the matching crystal shoe. 2. Be able to sing the lullaby heard that evening. If she wishes to remain anonymous, I will respect her decision. I simply wish to thank the person who saved my life. Sebastian Westbrook. Clara stared. Once. Twice. 3 times. Her cheeks slowly turned pink. She couldn't finish the sentence. Hannah grinned so widely it looked painful. I knew it. What? You know her? Clara's eyes widened. I don't. You looked like you were going to faint. I was surprised. Machem. Hannah crossed her arms dramatically. Very convincing. Clara sighed. I really don't know anything. Hannah leaned closer. Liar. Before Clara could defend herself. There you are. Both girls jumped. Bianca stood at the end of the hallway. When did you start hiding during lunch? She walked toward them. Hannah casually slipped the tablet behind her back. Too late. Bianca had already seen the announcement. So, she read aloud. Purple gown. Crystal heel. Lullaby. She rolled her eyes. What nonsense. Then she stopped. Her gaze drifted slowly toward Clara. Toward her feet. You know, she frowned. Those crystal shoes sound familiar. Clara's stomach dropped. She forced a laugh. Crystal shoes are popular. They're old-fashioned, Bianca said flatly. My mother had a pair. Then Bianca's eyes sharpened. So did yours. Bianca finally remembered the shoes she saw when she tore Clara's dress apart. The one Clara said belonging to her mother and the one Bianca had kicked. Clara froze. Just for a second. Long enough. You still have them? Bianca suddenly asked. Clara swallowed. They broke that night, remember? They did? Bianca raised one eyebrow. There was no regret on her doll-like face. Yes. Clara looked down. She couldn't afford seeing Bianca now, afraid her nervousness would betray her. Where are they now? I threw them away, the lie rolled down Clara's tongue swiftly. When? Right after you broke it that night. Bianca stared. Then suddenly smiled. Too easily. You're a terrible liar. Clara's heartbeat thundered. But Bianca simply turned away. I'll ask again if I remember. She walked off before Clara could answer. Hannah let out a slow breath. She destroyed the pair of shoes your mother gave to you, . Hannah asked, fuming with anger. Clara nodded weakly. Now she would need to convince Hannah to not ruin Bianca's life by hacking Bianca's social media account. That evening, Clara visited the hospital. Her mother looked tired. Far more tired than 2 days ago. Even smiling seemed to take effort. Tell me everything. Clara laughed softly. You always know. A mother's privilege. Pulling a chair beside the bed, Clara recounted the entire evening. The ballroom. The gardens. The assassin. Sebastian's wolf. The lullaby. Her mother frowned during this part, obviously not liking the fact that Clara had to use her real power. Clara managed to ensure her that nobody saw it and her power was still practically hidden. Once her mother relaxed, she continued the story. About the broken heel. Then. The announcement. Her mother listened quietly, smiling through most of the story. So, she asked once Clara finished. Will you tell him? Clara looked down at her hands. The room fell silent. Finally. She shook her head. No. Why? Clara smiled sadly. He doesn't like me. Her mother frowned. He likes, Clara searched for the words. The idea of me. The mysterious girl. The girl in the beautiful purple dress. The one who knew exactly what to say. She looked toward the hospital window. If he saw who I really am, her voice grew smaller, the overweight Omega who carries someone else's books. He'd be disappointed. He'd realize he made a mistake. Her mother reached over and gently squeezed her hand. My flower. You've spent so long believing cruel people, that you've forgotten kind people exist. Clara smiled. But what if they don't? Her mother opened her mouth to answer but before she could, instantly, a violent cough shook her body. Mom? Another cough. Longer. Harsher. Blood stained the tissue in her hand. Clara's smile disappeared. Mom? The heart monitor began beeping faster. Oxygen, her mother's breathing became ragged. The monitor shrilled. Beep. 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 Clara's eyes darted to the bedside monitor. SpO2, 94%. Then. 91%. Mom? 89%. Panic surged through her. No. Her mother's lips had begun turning pale. She struggled desperately for each breath. See Clara. No. Clara slammed her hand against the emergency button. Help. The alarm blared through the ward. Within seconds the door burst open. Doctors. Nurses. Respiratory therapists. The small room exploded into controlled chaos. Move the family aside. Change into NRBM, put 10 liters of oxygen. Prepare suction. Blood pressure dropping. Clara stumbled backward as strangers surrounded the bed. She couldn't even reach her mother anymore. All she could do was watch. Her fingers trembled uncontrollably. Please. Please don't leave me. Minutes felt like hours. Finally. The monitor slowed. The oxygen climbed. 90%. 93%. 96%. The frantic voices softened. One by one, the staff stepped away. The senior physician approached Clara. She is stable. Stable. Not better. Not safe. Simply. Still here. Clara sank into the nearest chair. Relief hit so suddenly it almost hurt. When the room had quieted, she walked back to her mother's bedside. Her mother was asleep now, an oxygen mask covering her face. Her hand felt frighteningly cold. Clara held it gently. I'm sorry. Her voice cracked. I almost forgot. The announcement. The mysterious girl. Sebastian Westbrook. For one foolish moment, she allowed herself to imagine another life. One where someone like Sebastian might choose someone like her. But sitting beside her mother's hospital bed, listening to the steady rhythm of the heart monitor, the fantasy dissolved. None of it mattered. Not the purple gown. Not the broken crystal heel. Not the alpha heir searching for her. There was only one thing that mattered. Keeping her mother alive. Even if that meant remaining invisible forever. Clara leaned down and kissed her mother's forehead. I don't need to be found, she whispered. I just need you to stay. Sebastian's POV. Even the brightest star cannot guide a traveler if it never rises. That was what Sebastian's father used to tell him. A king did not wait for fate. He pursued it. Sebastian Westbrook had absolutely no plan. He strode across the academy courtyard with determined steps, the tiny crystal heel safely tucked inside his coat pocket. His wolf purred contentedly. Find her. I'm working on it, Sebastian muttered. What? Sebastian looked up. Declan and Nolan had somehow appeared on either side of him. Nothing. Declan narrowed his eyes suspiciously. You've been talking to yourself. I have not. You definitely have. I was thinking aloud. That's called talking. Sebastian sighed. I need to find her. We know. I have an idea. Declan groaned. Oh no. What? You have an idea. That expression means it's terrible. It isn't. Nolan folded his arms. Let us hear it. Sebastian pointed toward the Academy's massive bell tower. I'll make an announcement. Declan blinked. What kind of announcement? Sebastian looked genuinely confused that they had to ask. I'll use the Academy loudspeakers. Silence. Then. Smack. Declan slapped the back of Sebastian's head. At the exact same moment. Thwack. Nolan smacked his shoulder. Sebastian stared at them. Why? Declan looked offended. Because that's the dumbest thing you've ever said. I've said worse. Not recently. Nolan pinched the bridge of his nose. You can't just announce. He cleared his throat dramatically. Attention everyone, I'm looking for the mysterious girl who saved me. Why not? Declan looked at Nolan. See? I told you sleep deprivation permanently damaged him. Sebastian rubbed the back of his head. I don't understand the problem. Declan counted on his fingers. Problem 1. Half the girls in this academy are already obsessed with you. Problem 2. The other half will suddenly become obsessed with you. Problem 3. You'll have 700 girls claiming they're your mystery girl. Sebastian frowned. That's a good point. Nolan sighed with relief. Finally. He admitted it. A miracle. An hour later. The 3 alpha heirs occupied their usual table inside the student council room. Maps. Academy records. A whiteboard somehow. Declan had turned Sebastian's simple problem into an official investigation. He wrote dramatically across the board. Operation Violet Bell. Sebastian looked up. Violet Bell? Declan grinned proudly. She left behind a crystal shoe. It fits. It absolutely fits. Nolan nodded. And no one knows who she is. Declan pointed triumphantly. Exactly. Sebastian had to admit. It wasn't he terrible. Declan spun toward him. Question. What? What's one thing only you and Violet Bell know? Sebastian thought carefully. The ballroom. The garden. The wolf. The lullaby. His expression softened. Her song. What? She sang. A lullaby. I've never heard it before. No one else was there. Declan snapped his fingers. Perfect. Nolan immediately understood. If anyone claims to be her, they'll have to know the song. And Sebastian reached into his pocket. He placed the broken crystal heel on the table. The matching shoe. Declan pointed dramatically. There we have it. He wrote 2 enormous bullet points beneath the title. The matching crystal shoe. The mysterious lullaby. Congratulations. He grinned. We officially have standards. By evening, every enchanted notice board across Alpha Academy displayed the same announcement. Hashtag 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 the search for Violet Bell hashtag hashtag hashtag. To the mysterious young woman wearing a purple masquerade mask during the moon ball. I owe you my life. I do not know your name. I do not know your pack. I do not know your face. But I remember your voice. You sang a lullaby unlike anything I have ever heard. If anyone knows the young woman who wore a purple gown and left behind part of a crystal heel, please come forward. To prevent false claims, anyone claiming to be her must 1. Possess the matching crystal shoe. 2. Be able to sing the lullaby heard that evening. If she wishes to remain anonymous, I will respect her decision. I simply wish to thank the person who saved my life. Signed. Sebastian Westbrook. Declan Prescott. Nolan Hartley. Declan admired the notice. I should become a politician. You'd start wars for entertainment, Nolan chuckled. I'd end them dramatically. The next morning, chaos. Absolute chaos. Sebastian had expected perhaps 10 girls. Maybe 20. Instead, the line stretched from the student council building, across the courtyard, around the academy fountain, and disappeared behind the library. Declan slowly lowered his cup of coffee. Despite the criteria we put, I underestimated your popularity. Nolan looked equally horrified. We'll be here all day. Sebastian sighed. Let us begin. The first girl entered. She curtsied gracefully. It was me. Sebastian looked up hopefully. Really? Yes. She produced a crystal shoe. Declan inspected it. Wrong size. Oh. Sebastian asked gently, the lullaby? She confidently began singing. It was a love song. Sebastian shook his head. No. She pouted before leaving. The second girl cried. The third brought flowers. The fourth attempted to hug Sebastian. Declan physically removed her. The fifth had borrowed someone else's shoe. The sixth claimed she'd forgotten the lullaby because she'd been too emotional. The seventh insisted humming should count. It did not. By lunchtime, Sebastian leaned back in his chair. Next. The door opened. Another girl. Then another. Then another. Purple dresses suddenly became fashionable throughout the academy. Every other student claimed to own crystal shoes. Someone even commissioned an entire orchestra to recreate the lullaby from memory. It sounded nothing like it. 3 days passed. Then 4. Every evening Sebastian replayed the fragments he remembered. Lavender. Moonlight. A gentle hand against his face. Sleep beneath a silver sky. No. That wasn't quite right. He couldn't remember the words. Only how they had made him feel. Safe. 6 days after the ball. The line outside the student council room had finally disappeared. Not because Sebastian had found her. Because everyone had already tried. He sat alone inside his dormitory. The crystal heel rested on his desk. The room was silent. Too silent. He had slept peacefully the first 2 nights after the ball. Then, nothing. His wolf had begun pacing again. Restless. Searching. Last night he had managed barely an hour. Tonight. He doubted sleep would come at all, his wolf whimpered softly. Find her. Sebastian closed his eyes. I know. Without her song. Without that impossible sense of peace. The nightmares were already returning. Dark circles slowly reappeared beneath his eyes. His hands trembled from exhaustion. Another few days. And he'd be exactly where he'd been before the ball. On the edge of madness. He looked once more at the tiny crystal heel. So where are you? Outside his window, Regulus constellation shone brilliantly above the academy. The little king, steadfast in the night sky, a reminder that even those born to lead could not command fate. He always had fondness toward star constellations as they were a reminder of his father. Sebastian curled his fingers around the crystal fragment. I'll find you. Even if he had to search every corner of Alpha Academy himself, because somewhere on campus, his violet bell was hiding. And time was running out. Clara's POV. Like the camellia that blooms quietly through winter, some beauty is only noticed by those who truly look. Life should have gone back to normal. Instead, Alpha Academy had become obsessed. Purple ribbons are completely sold out. I heard Lady Cordelia bought 6 pairs of crystal heels yesterday. No. The dress has to be violet, not lavender. Clara slowed her steps as 2 second-year girls hurried past her. I can sing lullabies. So can everyone. But mine are prettier. The girls burst into laughter before disappearing into the main building. Clara lowered her gaze. It had been 6 days since the masked ball. 6 days since Sebastian Westbrook had announced he was searching for the mysterious girl in purple. And somehow, the entire academy had lost its mind. Purple gowns appeared everywhere. Girls suddenly carried crystal shoes to class. Someone had even started calling the mystery girl Violet Bell. Clara nearly choked the first time she heard it. She tightened her grip around Bianca's books. Just ignore it, she thought to herself, sooner or later, he'll stop searching. He had to. Clara. She hurried toward the waiting black sedan. Bianca sat comfortably inside, scrolling through her academy tablet. Without looking up, she extended a cup toward Clara. Hold this. Clara accepted the iced coffee. And don't spill it. I want tea. The car rolled toward campus. Outside the windows, students clustered around every notice board. The search announcement still hung proudly in the center. Violet Bell. The words made Clara's ears warm. You know, Bianca said suddenly. Clara looked up. I've been thinking. About? This Violet Bell nonsense. Bianca's tone was laced with mockery, which made Clara flinched a little. Oh. Bianca scoffed. I don't understand why Sebastian cares so much. Clara remained quiet. I mean, Bianca continued, examining her manicure. She probably isn't even pretty. Clara looked out the window. Maybe. A lucky coincidence. I'm sure, Clara whispered. Anyone can sing. Clara smiled faintly. Not that song, she thought to herself. The words were at the tip of her tongue, but she held it in. Her mother had taught the song only to those born into their bloodline. There wasn't another person alive who knew every verse. Which meant no one could pretend to be Violet Bell forever. Eventually Sebastian would give up. Everything would return to normal. Wouldn't he it? Morning assembly was unusually crowded. The student body gathered beneath the enormous academy clock tower while professors prepared for announcements. Clara stood near the back as always. Invisible. Comfortable. Until a familiar figure walked onto the platform. Sebastian. Her heart skipped. Then sank when she noticed his dark circles had returned. Not as bad as before the ball. But close. His usually immaculate uniform looked slightly rumpled. His jaw seemed tighter. Even from this distance. She could sense it. His wolf. Restless again. The peaceful warmth she felt that night had faded. He hasn't been sleeping. Guilt twisted painfully inside her chest. She shouldn't care. She couldn't care. Yet seeing him like this. It hurt. Sebastian looked over the gathered students. For one impossible second. His eyes passed directly over hers. Clara immediately lowered her head. When she looked again. He had already turned away. She quietly released the breath she'd been holding. Combat Strategy Class 101. Professor Whitman looked unusually excited for this particular class. The old beta clapped once, silencing the classroom. I have wonderful news. Nobody believed him. Declan leaned back dramatically. This usually means more homework. Several students nodded. Professor Whitman ignored them. The Alpha Council has authorized our annual Strategic Dominion Challenge. Now everyone sat up. Even Sebastian looked interested. The professor waved his hand. A massive three-dimensional battlefield appeared above the classroom. Mountains. Forests, rivers. Villages. If your team wins, he smiled proudly. You'll receive extra academic credits. Murmurs filled the room. In addition, another pause. The winning strategist will dine with the Alpha Council. Gasps echoed everywhere. And, he wasn't finished. Receive an official leadership recommendation. The room exploded. Every ambitious Alpha suddenly looked determined. Professor Whitman pointed toward the floating battlefield. This year's challenge. The map shifted. 4 rival packs. Limited supplies. Civilian villages trapped between enemy lines. An approaching blizzard. Every route looked impossible. You have 1 hour. As expected. Everyone turned toward Sebastian. He had won the competition twice already. Declan immediately grinned. Looks like we're teammates again. Nolan nodded. Same strategy? Sebastian simply unfolded the map. Across the room. Bianca confidently stood. I'll lead ours. Her friends applauded. Obviously. No one's smarter. Clara quietly unpacked everyone's notebooks. She'd done this enough times to know what came next. Exactly 23 minutes later. Bianca leaned beneath the desk. Clara. Clara pretended not to hear. Clara. Yes? I can't solve this. Clara glanced toward the map. Neither could anyone else. Professor Whitman had created one of his impossible scenarios again. She studied it carefully. North. South. Mountain pass. Supply lines. Frozen marshes. Then. She saw it. Oh. Bianca frowned. What? The villages. What about them? They're the answer, Clara whispered. I don't understand. Clara picked up a pencil. If everyone keeps thinking like soldiers, she lightly circled 3 farming villages. You lose. Bianca frowned harder. Clara whispered softly. Think like civilians instead. Across the classroom. Sebastian's pencil stopped moving. His ears had caught something. Not the words. Just a whisper. He looked up. Bianca and Clara sat close together. Clara pointed quietly at the map. Then leaned back. A second later. Bianca confidently raised her hand. Professor. Yes, Miss Montgomery? The villages aren't obstacles. She stood confidently, they're supply centers. Professor Whitman blinked. Go on. If we evacuate civilians before winter, she repeated Clara's analysis almost word for word, our army gains food while denying enemy resources. Silence. Then. The professor smiled. Excellent observation. Applause filled the room. Bianca Montgomery continues to impress. Bianca accepted the praise gracefully. Clara simply erased her tiny sketch from the edge of her notebook. Just like always. Sebastian didn't applaud. He was watching someone else. Clara. She hadn't looked disappointed. She hadn't looked proud either. She simply went back to organizing Bianca's papers. Declan noticed his stare. What is it? Sebastian didn't answer immediately. His gaze remained on Clara. Did you notice something? Declan looked across the room. Bianca? No. The map? No. Declan blinked. Then what? Sebastian frowned. I'm not sure. Something about that exchange. Didn't feel right. He couldn't explain why. But for the first time, he wondered whether the Academy's so-called genius had received a little more help than anyone realized. Clara's POV. The smallest flowers are often the hardest to forget. The bell announcing the end of combat strategy echoed through the academy. Students poured into the corridors, eagerly discussing Professor Whitman's impossible battlefield. Bianca was amazing. I would have never thought about using the villages. She's definitely going to become the youngest Luna Council member. Clara quietly stacked Bianca's notebooks inside her bag. Just another day. Just another victory that wasn't hers. She didn't mind. Or at least, she had convinced herself she didn't. Move. One of Bianca's friends bumped her shoulder as she hurried past. Clara stumbled but managed to keep the books from falling. Sorry. The girl didn't even acknowledge her. Bianca walked ahead without looking back. Clara. Yes? My fencing bag. Clara hurried after her. And don't wrinkle my uniform. Okay. Lunch was never her favorite part of the day. But once she could escape from the cafeteria to her personal hidden spot, then it became her favorite part of the day. Because it was the only hour no one expected anything from her. She slipped outside instead of entering the crowded cafeteria. Beneath an old maple tree stood the same weathered wooden bench she'd claimed since her first semester. Peace. She unpacked her lunch. 2 rice balls. A boiled egg. Half an apple Mrs. Patricia had secretly tucked into her lunchbox that morning. Miss Clara. She looked up. A tiny first-year Omega came running toward her. His glasses were crooked, and his backpack looked almost larger than he was. Toby? The boy stopped in front of her, slightly out of breath. He nervously held out a small paper bag. My mom baked cookies. Clara blinked. For me? He nodded enthusiastically. You helped me pass Professor Monroe's quiz. It was only tutoring. You stayed after class for 3 weeks. Clara smiled. I wanted to help. I know. The little boy beamed. So. He thrust the bag into her hands. Thank you. Before Clara could answer, he ran off toward the first-year dormitories. She stared after him. Then slowly opened the paper bag. Inside were 6 slightly misshapen chocolate cookies. One had broken in half. A tiny note rested beneath them. Thank you for believing I wasn't stupid. Clara's eyes warmed. She carefully folded the note and tucked it inside her notebook. It felt more precious than any jewel. A few minutes later, another student approached. Then another. A shy second-year beta asked if Clara would still help with tomorrow's anatomy review. A nervous Omega thanked her for lending class notes. One of the kitchen workers waved from across the courtyard and slipped an extra carton of milk onto her table. None of them stayed long. None wanted attention. But one by one, they smiled at her. Kindly. As if she mattered. Clara laughed softly to herself. Maybe. She wasn't as invisible as she'd thought. These little kindness made the mockery and bullying more tolerable. It gave her hope that not everyone was out against her. On the second-floor balcony overlooking the courtyard, Declan leaned against the railing. There she is. Sebastian followed his gaze. Who? The girl you've been staring at all morning. I wasn't staring. Nolan raised an eyebrow. No? Sebastian ignored him. Below, Clara was dividing one cookie into 2 pieces before handing half to a stray kitten curled beneath the bench. The tiny animal purred immediately. She giggled. Actually giggled. The sound drifted faintly upward on the breeze. Sebastian felt something strange stir inside him. His wolf. It had been pacing restlessly all morning. Now, it became unusually quiet. Not asleep. Just listening. His brow furrowed. Weird. What is? Nolan asked. My wolf. Declan looked interested. What about it? It. Sebastian searched for the right word. Calm down. For no reason? He looked toward Clara again. She was gently scratching the kitten behind its ears. The feeling disappeared almost as quickly as it had come. His wolf whimpered softly. Find her. Sebastian sighed. Never mind. Back in the courtyard, Clara suddenly felt as though someone was watching her. She looked around. Nothing. Students hurried between buildings. A gardener trimmed rose bushes nearby. The breeze rustled through the trees. No one. Still. The strange sensation lingered. She finished packing her lunch. I should go. The kitten meowed in protest. Clara smiled. I'll bring more tomorrow. The afternoon passed quietly. History. Magical ethics. Pack law. By the final bell, Clara's shoulders ached from carrying Bianca's belongings across campus. As usual, Bianca walked several paces ahead with her friends. Clara. She hurried over. My shoes are dirty. Clara looked down. They're clean. Polish them anyway when we get home. Okay. That evening, after dinner, the attic room felt wonderfully peaceful. Clara locked the door. Then knelt beside the old wooden chest beneath her bed. From beneath neatly folded blankets, she removed two objects wrapped carefully in soft linen. The glittering purple masquerade mask. And the remaining crystal heel. She traced the broken edge with trembling fingers. Somewhere. The other half rested with Sebastian. She wondered if he'd kept it. Then immediately shook the thought away. Stop. She smiled sadly at herself. This is ridiculous. Carefully, she placed the shoe against her cheek. It still carried the faint scent of moonflowers. And perhaps she imagined it. A whisper of cedarwood. Sebastian. Her cheeks warmed. No. She closed the box. He doesn't know me. He was searching for an impossible girl. A girl wrapped in moonlight and magic. Not Clara Whitaker. Not the plus-sized Omega who carried someone else's books. She tucked the shoe safely back into the trunk. Please. Her whisper disappeared into the quiet room. Stop looking. Outside the attic window, Alpha Academy glowed beneath the evening sky. Far across campus, in the Royal Alpha residence, Sebastian sat before his own window with the matching fragment of crystal heel resting in his palm. Neither knew it. But they were making the same silent wish. One hoped to be forgotten. The other prayed never to forget. And somewhere above them, tiny blue forget-me-not flowers swayed in the night breeze below the academy walls, small, resilient blossoms carrying a promise neither of them was yet ready to understand. Sebastian's POV. Arcturus, the guardian star, shines brightest for those entrusted with protecting others. The scream echoed through the library before dawn. It wasn't loud. It didn't have to be. Within minutes, the entire eastern wing of Alpha Academy had descended into chaos. Students poured into the corridors. Professors abandoned their lectures. Prefects blocked every entrance leading toward the Grand Library. Sebastian had barely stepped out of his dormitory when Declan came sprinting across the courtyard. Sebastian. Sebastian frowned. What happened? Declan rarely ran. Now his usually carefree expression had vanished completely. They found another body. Another. Sebastian's stomach tightened. 20 minutes later, the library had become a fortress. Academy guards stood shoulder to shoulder outside the restricted section. Faculty members whispered anxiously among themselves. Even Headmaster Frederick looked visibly shaken. Professor Whitman spotted Sebastian and Declan the moment he arrived. Good, you're here with Declan. He looked exhausted. We're waiting for the others. One by one they appeared. Nolan. Bianca Montgomery. Felix Blackwood, a third-year beta famous for forensic magic. Vanessa Locke, president of the Luna Council and one of the Academy's most gifted mages. 6 students. The strongest minds in Professor Whitman's classes. The old professor looked at each of them before speaking. I wish this meeting were under better circumstances. No one answered. The victim was discovered 37 minutes ago. His voice grew quieter. Follow me. The restricted archives occupied the oldest part of Alpha Academy. Shelves towered nearly 3 stories high. Dust-coated books no one had touched for decades. Professor Whitman stopped before an ordinary-looking bookshelf. He pressed 3 hidden runes carved into the wood. With a low rumble, the shelf slowly slid aside. A narrow stone staircase descended into darkness. Declan blinked. There's a hidden passage? Professor Whitman nodded grimly. Most faculty don't even know it exists. Cold air drifted upward. The smell hit them first. Iron. Blood. Death. Sebastian's jaw tightened. The hidden corridor stretched beneath the academy. Ancient stone walls disappeared into darkness beyond the reach of enchanted lanterns. Halfway down, the body lay on the floor. A young man. No older than 19. Silver hair. Academy uniform. Blank eyes staring toward the ceiling. His skin had already lost its warmth. Bianca quietly covered her mouth. OMG. Felix immediately knelt beside the body. Nolan followed. Sebastian recognized the victim. Owen. Professor Whitman nodded. Owen Ramsey. A second-year alpha from Silver Pine Pack. One of the smaller allied packs. Not particularly influential. Not particularly powerful. Just dead. No one spoke for several moments. Only Felix carefully examined the body. No defensive wounds. No broken bones. No obvious signs of poisoning for now. We need blood check to completely rule out poison. Nolan frowned. Wolfsbane? He remembered the wolfsbane used on him by the mysterious assassin a week ago. He wondered if it was the same perpetrator. Felix nodded appreciatively. Wolfsbane is a potential candidate as it stops werewolves' hearts suddenly without any signs, as though they got heart attacks while sleeping. Declan and Nolan looked at Sebastian. A silent conversation between them. It was no secret that someone had saved Sebastian that night by helping him sleep, but the part about the assassin, the three of them kept it a secret. Well, the three of them and apparently the Violet Belle stayed silent about it. Sebastian couldn't help but wonder if the Violet Belle had anything to do with the assassin. Was she trying not to be found by staying silent about the incident? Or was she trying to cover up the assassin? From their shared looks, Sebastian knew his friends had thought of the same thing. Professor Whitman suddenly said with grievances, "Whatever it is, it has killed 3 of our students now." Declan looked up sharply. "You announced to the whole academy the first 2 students only disappeared." "They did. I held back the entire information because I don't want widespread panic." "The first victim." Professor Whitman clasped his hands behind his back. "A beta. Missing for almost 2 months. We found her body inside the cafeteria freezer, as though she overslept after eating ice cream." "The second." "Another beta. Disappeared 3 weeks later. We found no body." Vanessa looked confused. "Then how do we know the second one was murdered too?" The professor's tired eyes met hers. "Because we found." He hesitated, "Evidence." Sebastian understood immediately. "Blood." The professor nodded. "Enough to conclude homicide. But never enough to recover a body." Silence settled over the passageway. Sebastian looked back toward Owen. "This one is different." "Yes." Professor Whitman's expression darkened. "Very different. Unlike the first 2 bodies, the murderer deliberately led us to find the third body. Our librarian came to work this morning with a written note on her computer of instructions to find the body." He stepped toward the body. "The murderer wanted him found." Everyone looked at the carefully arranged scene. Owen hadn't been hidden. He had been placed. His academy badge rested neatly upon his chest. One lantern had been left burning nearby. The hidden doorway hadn't even been locked. Professor Whitman spoke quietly. "The first 2 murders felt experimental. They erased every trace. They learned. They adapted." He looked toward Owen. "This is a message." Declan crossed his arms. "To who?" "I don't know. But I fear." Professor Whitman's voice lowered. "This is only the beginning." Sebastian slowly walked around the body. Something felt wrong. Not just the murder. The placement. The passageway. The killer hadn't simply chosen somewhere hidden. They had chosen somewhere that would eventually be discovered. Not immediately. Not too late. Exactly when students would begin using the library for morning study. Enough people to spread panic. Enough witnesses to create fear. Calculated. Deliberate. His gaze swept across the ancient stone floor. No footprints. No drag marks. No struggle. The killer knew exactly what they were doing. "I've made a decision." Professor Whitman's voice echoed through the corridor. He faced the 6 students. Ordinarily, I would never involve students. But these murders concern students. And the academy is running out of time. Headmaster Frederick nodded in silent agreement. Professor Whitman continued. Each of you possesses abilities or expertise our faculty lacks. He looked first at Sebastian. Leadership. Then Declan. Military strategy. Nolan. Medicine. Felix. Forensic magic. Vanessa. Protective enchantments. Finally, Bianca. Exceptional analytical performance. Sebastian noticed Bianca straighten proudly. You will form an investigative committee. Working directly beneath the Academy Alpha Council. Sebastian nodded. After all, he was the leader of the Alpha Council. And Professor Whitman continued, the Luna Council. Vanessa stepped forward. We accept. So do we, Sebastian answered. The others followed. As the meeting dispersed, Sebastian remained beside the hidden passage. His thoughts drifted. Not to the murder. Not entirely. But to something Professor Whitman had said. Exceptional analytical performance. His eyes narrowed thoughtfully. For some reason, he remembered the previous combat strategy class Bianca answering only after Clara whispered. He remembered Bianca receiving all the praise. Then, he remembered Clara quietly erasing her notes. The image lingered longer than it should have. Sebastian? Declan's voice interrupted his thoughts. You coming? Sebastian glanced once more at Owen's body. Then toward the library above. Headmaster Frederick and Professor Whitman decided to only keep the horrible facts to the chosen investigative committee. And so they brushed this incident of as a student accidentally found a hidden passage and died of poison gas leak. This gave enough reason for the academy to seal the passageway and enact curfews on the students as precaution. So beyond those shelves Sebastian saw, thousands of students continued their ordinary lives, unaware that a murderer had declared war on Alpha Academy. And somewhere among them, a girl in a purple mask was still hiding. His wolf stirred. Not with longing this time, but with warning. Something terrible was coming. Sebastian could feel it. Like a star disappearing behind gathering storm clouds. And as Arcturus, the guardian star, climbed unseen into the afternoon sky, Sebastian made himself a silent promise. He would find the killer. Before there was a fourth body. Sebastian SPOV. Aldebaran, the follower, is the star that watches patiently waiting for the truth to reveal itself. The student council chamber had never been this crowded. Normally, it served as little more than a meeting room for Alpha Council affairs, a spacious circular hall overlooking the academy through towering stained glass windows. Now, it looked like the headquarters of a war. Maps of every building in the academy covered one wall. Library blueprints littered another. Stacks of academy records nearly reached the ceiling. Felix had claimed the largest board in the room. Photographs of the 3 victims hung from it, connected by red string and dozens of colored pins. Names. Dates. Classes. Pack affiliations. Dormitory locations. Every detail they knew. There has to be a connection. Felix frowned as he pushed another pin into the board. No murderer chooses victims randomly. Across the room, Declan had commandeered an entire chalkboard. In enormous letters he had written. ## possible suspects. Below it stretched an absurdly long list. Teachers. Students. Staff. Visitors. Former students. Even. Ghost? Nolan walked past, looked at the final entry, and silently erased it. Declan sighed dramatically. We shouldn't eliminate possibilities. We absolutely should, Sebastian said. Meanwhile, Vanessa knelt in the center of the room, dozens of glowing runes circling around her. The Academy's surveillance crystals floated before her like tiny moons. I've modified the enchantments. Sebastian looked over. How? The cameras previously captured only visual memories. She carefully carved another rune into the air. Now, a pulse of blue light spread through every crystal. They'll capture sound as well. Felix looked impressed. Can they recognize voices? Eventually. But I'll need another day. At least for now, whispers. She smiled slightly. We'll no longer hide. Sebastian nodded. Good work. Nolan spread medical journals across the conference table. I've ruled out most conventional poisons. Declan leaned over. What about wolfsbane? It explains Sebastian. But doesn't he entirely explain Owen? He flipped another page. No residue. No organ damage. No blood abnormalities. Felix frowned. So. What killed him? Nolan sighed. I don't know. There are toxins capable of degrading before death. But nothing this clean. Sebastian studied the victim photographs again. No wounds. No bruises. No struggle. The more evidence they gathered, the less sense everything made. Hours passed. The investigation gradually took shape. Sebastian naturally slipped into command. Felix. Cross-reference all victims' schedules. Felix nodded. Already started. Vanessa. I want every surveillance crystal covering the eastern wing. I'll have them by tomorrow. Nolan. Look beyond poison. Disease. Curses. Anything. Understood, Nolan said. Declan. I need timelines. Done. Declan saluted dramatically. Sebastian almost smiled. Despite the circumstances, working with his friends felt strangely effortless. Each knew exactly what to do. Exactly where they excelled. Exactly how to help. Except one. Sebastian looked toward the far corner. Bianca Montgomery sat perfectly straight, notebook open before her. She had written almost nothing. Every so often she nodded thoughtfully. Occasionally she copied someone else's observations. But she never volunteered anything herself. Strange. Professor Whitman had described her as one of the Academy's finest analytical minds. Yet throughout the afternoon, she'd barely spoken. Sebastian frowned. Maybe she was simply nervous. Several minutes later, he decided to find out. Bianca. She looked up immediately. Yes? Sebastian walked toward the strategy board. What are your thoughts? My thoughts? Bianca asked. On the murders. She blinked. The pattern. The killer. The motive. Anything. For the first time all afternoon, silence settled across the room. Everyone looked toward Bianca. She smiled confidently. I believe. A pause. The murderer probably hates alphas. Felix immediately tilted his head. Why? Because. She hesitated. Owen was an alpha. But the previous two victims were betas, Vanessa pointed out. Bianca quickly nodded. Exactly. So maybe they started with betas before becoming brave enough to attack an alpha. Felix frowned. That assumes the victims were selected by rank. We have no evidence of that. Bianca looked toward Sebastian. I mean, it seems logical. Sebastian waited. Nothing else came. He tried another question. What do you think about the body placement? It was. Another hesitation. Hidden. Declan looked up from his board. Actually, it wasn't. It was deliberately left to be discovered. Oh. Bianca laughed awkwardly. Right. I meant that. Felix folded his arms. If the killer wanted the body hidden, why leave a lantern beside it? No answer. Vanessa quietly added, and why choose a hidden passage students would eventually uncover? Again. Nothing. Sebastian studied Bianca carefully. The answers weren't merely incomplete. They lacked depth. Anyone in Professor Whitman's strategy class would have noticed these inconsistencies. Unless. A sharp headache suddenly pierced behind Sebastian's eyes. He winced. His vision blurred slightly. Find her. His wolf's voice sounded unusually strained. Please. Find her. Another pulse of pain. Sebastian rubbed his temples. Not now. The headache intensified. The familiar exhaustion he'd enjoyed escaping for 2 brief days returned with cruel efficiency. His wolf paced frantically. Restless. Anxious. Searching. Lavender. The scent existed only in memory now. Almost forgotten. Almost. Sebastian closed the investigation folder. We're done for today. Declan looked surprised. So early? We're getting nowhere. Nolan noticed Sebastian's pale expression immediately. You should rest. I'll try. Though all of them knew. Trying rarely worked. Students gradually filtered out of the council chamber. Felix gathered his files. Vanessa dismissed the floating runes. Declan stretched dramatically before complaining about missing dinner. Only Sebastian lingered behind. He needed a moment. Just one quiet moment before facing another sleepless night. He opened the heavy council room doors. And collided with someone standing outside. Oof. Books scattered across the polished marble floor. A leather satchel slipped from small hands. Papers fluttered everywhere. I am so sorry. A familiar, gentle voice. Sebastian instinctively bent to help gather the fallen books. I'm the one who wasn't looking. The young woman knelt opposite him. Soft dark brown curls spilled over her shoulder as she hurriedly collected notebooks. She kept her head lowered. Almost as though she hoped no one would notice her. Before Sebastian could hand her a book. Clara. A sharp voice echoed down the hallway. Bianca. She strode toward them, irritation written plainly across her face. What are you doing? Clara immediately stood. I'm sorry. My bag fell. You dropped my books? Bianca's voice sent pins and needles to Sebastian's head. I'm sorry. I told you to wait quietly. I was. You can't even hold one bag properly? Bianca raised her voice. Clara lowered her head. I'm sorry. Sebastian frowned. The exchange felt wrong. Uncomfortable. He opened his mouth to intervene. Then he breathed in. Lavender. Wildflowers. Rain after summer. His entire body froze. His wolf, moments ago clawing desperately inside his chest, went completely still. It purred. A deep, contented rumble echoed through Sebastian's mind. Home. His headache eased instantly. The pounding behind his eyes vanished. Even his breathing slowed. Sebastian stared at Clara. Then at Bianca. Which one had the smell of his violet bell? The mysterious girl had worn an elegant purple gown. But she also wore glamour. So her hair color, eye color, even her shape Sebastian could not tell. He could only remember her scent and her voice. Was it Bianca or the quiet Omega who carried Bianca's books? His wolf nudged him eagerly. Closer. Sebastian blinked, forcing himself back to reality. Which one? He probably was letting exhaustion cloud his judgment. Still. An idea quietly formed in the back of his mind. Not a conclusion. A possibility. One worth testing. His eyes lingered on Clara for a heartbeat longer before she hurried after Bianca down the corridor. The scent faded with them both gone. His wolf whined softly. Find her. Sebastian looked thoughtfully at the now empty hallway. Which one? Clara's POV. The hellebore blooms in the coldest season, quietly enduring where others cannot. Some hearts survive the same way. Clara. A thick history textbook landed with a heavy thud on the table. Chapter 8. Another. And Chapter 12. Then another. I need a summary. Clara silently added the books to the growing stack already surrounding her. Across the long oak table, Bianca and her 4 closest friends lounged comfortably on velvet chairs, not a single notebook open. They were too focused on keeping up with the hottest gossips. So did you see Prince Wesley's interview? Oh, he looked gorgeous. I heard he's dating the actress from Crescent Pack. No way. My cousin said they're fake dating. Their conversation dissolved into excited squeals. Clara dipped her pen into ink. Around her lay 5 different sets of homework. History. Pack law. Magical ethics. Runic mathematics. Combat theory. All belonging to Bianca or Bianca's friends. She had already stopped asking which belonged to whom. It made no difference. She wrote, calculated, summarized, corrected grammar. Occasionally she paused to flip another page before continuing. Her own assignments remained untouched inside her satchel. She would finish them tonight, after everyone else had gone to sleep. Honestly, one of Bianca's friends, Zoe, giggled, if Sebastian can't find Violet Bell soon, I might just become her. You already tried. I almost had him convinced, Zoe pouted. You sang Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. The table erupted into laughter. Clara kept writing. Another girl sighed dramatically. I heard he rejected another 12 girls yesterday. 12? Bianca squealed. A student harshly shushed her, obviously bothered by the queen bees who had not bothered to keep quiet. Bianca only rolled her eyes. Unbothered. Actually 15, Tessa continued with the exact same level of volume. Clearly she was ignoring the previous student. I don't understand. Bianca twirled a lock of blonde hair around one finger. She's probably hiding because she's plain. Clara's pen paused. Or ugly. Another laugh. Otherwise she'd have shown herself by now. Clara quietly resumed writing. The word shouldn't hurt anymore. It really shouldn't. She should have gotten used to it by now. Without her knowing, she pressed the ink pen too strongly to the paper, creating a blot of ink. She quickly realized it and managed to salvage the homework before turning into a bigger mess. The afternoon sunlight filtered through the towering stained glass windows, painting shifting patches of color across the library floor. Normally, the grand library soothed Clara. She loved its endless shelves. The scent of old parchment. The comforting silence. Today even the silence felt uneasy. Her wolf stirred beneath her skin. Not frightened. Alert. As though listening for something just beyond hearing. Clara frowned. What is it? The feeling only grew stronger. A scream shattered the stillness. It came from somewhere deep within the restricted archives. Books crashed. Chairs scraped across the floor. Every student looked up simultaneously. What was that? It came from over there. Someone sprinted between the shelves. Another followed. Within seconds, nearly everyone in the library was rushing toward the far eastern corner. Even Bianca stood. What now? Curiosity quickly overcame gossip. Let us go. Her friends hurried after the crowd. Clara reluctantly gathered the scattered homework before following several steps behind. The commotion centered around one of the oldest bookshelves in the academy. Students pushed against one another, trying to see. Clara wasn't tall enough. She could only glimpse frightened faces. Then a young library assistant stumbled backward from the crowd. He collapsed onto the floor. His face had gone deathly pale. His entire body trembled uncontrollably. Behind him, the enormous bookshelf had shifted aside. A narrow stone passage stretched into darkness beyond. Except it wasn't completely dark. A warm orange glow flickered from somewhere below. Lanterns. Someone had lit the passage. Clara felt every hair on her arms rise. Someone was down there. The library assistant pointed toward the opening with a shaking hand. His lips moved soundlessly. His voice cracked. Another breath. Then. He's dead. His scream echoed through the entire library. Before anyone could catch him, his eyes rolled back. He fainted. Chaos erupted. Students gasped. Someone cried. Several first years immediately began sobbing. Others pushed forward, desperate to see. Clara instinctively stepped back instead. Her wolf recoiled. Not from death. From something else. Something wrong. The air surrounding the hidden passage felt heavy. Almost familiar. Everyone stand back. Professor Whitman's voice thundered across the library. For the first time since Clara had met him, he sounded afraid. Headmaster Frederick appeared beside him almost instantly. Without hesitation, both men raised their hands. Ancient runes ignited beneath their feet. Golden light exploded through the corridor. A shimmering barrier swept over the hidden entrance. The bookshelf slowly appeared whole once more. The passage disappeared. As though it had never existed. Even the orange light vanished. The whispers ceased. Students blinked in confusion. Those who hadn't seen the passage now stared only at an ordinary bookshelf. Professor Whitman looked over the crowd. His usually gentle expression had hardened. The Grand Library is now closed until further notice. Murmurs immediately spread. If any student possesses information regarding today's incident, his gaze swept slowly across every face, you will report directly to me. No exceptions. Headmaster Frederick stepped forward. His deep voice carried effortlessly through the enormous library. I will also remind every student and every member of staff that spreading unverified rumors serves only to create fear. His silver eyes narrowed. Focus on your studies. Leave this matter to the academy. One by one students reluctantly dispersed. Though no one truly stopped whispering. Clara bent to collect the books Bianca had abandoned. She had barely stacked them into her arms when Miss Montgomery. Professor Whitman called. Bianca froze. Yes, Professor? I'd like you to remain behind. She blinked. Me? You've been selected. Professor Whitman smiled tiredly. Alongside several council members. We require your analytical abilities to assist our investigation. Clara almost dropped the books. Bianca's face went blank. My analytical abilities? Professor Whitman frowned slightly. You've consistently demonstrated exceptional strategic reasoning in my classes. I believe you'll be a valuable addition. For a brief moment Clara watched panic flash across Bianca's face. Real panic. Not annoyance. Not embarrassment. Bianca swallowed, She forced a smile. May I use the restroom first? Of course. Professor Whitman nodded, the council room in 15 minutes. The moment they rounded the nearest hallway, Bianca grabbed Clara's wrist. Hard. She dragged her into an empty classroom before slamming the door shut. What do I do? Clara blinked. Bianca. I'm serious. Her breathing had become uneven. I thought he'd just praise me. I didn't think. She ran both hands through her perfectly styled hair. This isn't another class. This is, her voice cracked. A murder. Clara quietly watched her. For the first time she saw someone genuinely terrified. Her wolf sensed it too. Panic. Anxiety. Overwhelming fear. Without thinking, Clara reached out with the smallest thread of her power. Not enough to influence. Only enough to soothe. Like warm water flowing over trembling hands. Bianca's breathing gradually slowed. Her shoulders relaxed. She didn't even notice. Clara smiled gently. You don't have to solve it today. Bianca looked up. What? Just go. Listen. Take notes. Observe. But when you come home, Clara hugged the stack of books closer, I'll help you organize everything. Bianca stared. You will? Clara nodded. We've always worked together. The word stung more than she expected. It was one thing helping Bianca answer difficult questions in class. She'd accepted that long ago. But this helping solve a murder while someone else received the credit, the thought made something inside her ache. Still she smiled at Bianca. You won't be alone. Relief flooded Bianca's face. For the first time that day she actually smiled at Clara. A genuine one. Thank you. She hurried toward the council chambers. Clara watched until she disappeared around the corner. Then the smile slowly faded from her own face. She turned toward the library windows. The image of the hidden passage lingered in her mind. The orange lantern. The suffocating feeling. The strange heaviness in the air. Her wolf stirred uneasily. That wasn't ordinary magic. No. She knew what ordinary magic felt like. This felt closer to something buried. Something hidden, something that wanted to remain unseen. Her thoughts drifted unwillingly to another night beneath another moon. Sebastian. The assassin. The wolfsbane. His wolf losing control. Could it really be a coincidence? 3 disappearances. 3 murders. An assassination attempt on an alpha heir. All within the same academy. Clara tightened her grip on the books. No. Her instincts whispered otherwise. If whatever was happening inside Alpha Academy was connected to a power like hers or connected to the person who had tried to kill Sebastian, then remaining uninvolved would no longer protect anyone. Not Sebastian. Not her mother. And perhaps not even herself. Clara's POV. Foxgloves are beautiful enough to heal, and dangerous enough to kill. Sometimes the difference lies only in how they're used. Clara had never stood so close to power until that day. Not kings. Not alphas. Not professors. But power itself. She stood outside the carved oak doors of the Alpha Council chamber, hidden in the shadow of a marble pillar while Bianca disappeared inside. As the heavy doors closed, silence followed. Clara shifted the stack of notebooks in her arms. She wasn't supposed to be here. Servants, attendants, especially Omegas, they waited outside. Well, despite the modern law stated that Omegas could have some power over pack laws and influence the pack, unwritten Omegas were still Omegas. Invisible. Useful. Forgotten. Exactly where Clara belonged. She lowered herself onto a nearby bench. Her wolf stirred quietly. Listen. Clara closed her eyes. She didn't need to hear every word. She only needed to feel. Silver threads of empathy drifted gently through the crack beneath the council room doors. Not enough to enter minds. Never that. Only emotions. The safest part of her gift. Immediately she sensed Felix. Sharp. Quick. His emotions darted like sparks. Excitement. Curiosity. Wonder. A mystery. Then guilt. The excitement embarrassed him. Someone had died. How could part of him enjoy solving it? Clara smiled faintly. You're kinder than you realize, she thought to herself about Felix. Another thread drifted toward her. This time it was Vanessa. Focused. Entirely focused. No fear. No excitement. Only concentration. Complex runes rotated inside her thoughts. Endless calculations. She was already redesigning the Academy's surveillance enchantments. Clara almost admired her dedication. Another. Nolan. Heavy. Uncertain. I should know, he blamed himself, I'm the healer. Why can't I find the cause? His frustration weighed like stone. Then a familiar presence reached Nolan. Sebastian. His voice was low enough that Clara couldn't hear the words. She didn't need to. She felt them. Reassurance. Trust. Confidence. Nolan's anxiety eased almost immediately. Sebastian believed in him. And somehow that was enough. Clara smiled. He's kind. Then she reached Sebastian's emotions. The smile vanished. Exhaustion. Not ordinary tiredness. It was bone deep. Soul deep. His wolf whimpered somewhere beneath all that exhaustion. Not growling. Not raging. Simply whimpering. Find her. The tiny thought echoed through Sebastian's heart. Please. Clara pressed a hand against her chest. It hurt. More than it should. He'd barely slept again. She could feel it. Each passing day wore him thinner. Yet inside the council room his emotions remained perfectly contained. No one else seemed to notice. Outside he looked every bit the future alpha. Calm, collected, and strong. Only Clara knew how much pain lay beneath. The council meeting continued. Then suddenly, Clara could feel it. A sharp pulse of pain. It came from Sebastian. Clara's head snapped toward the doors. His headache. It came without warning. So violently that even his emotions. Clara heard Sebastian dismiss the meeting, and before the door burst open, she sidestepped to the shadow, masked her scent, and did what she always do, became invisible. One by one, the chosen students went out of the room, even Bianca. She was about to follow Bianca when she realized that there was still one person left inside the room. Sebastian. He had lingered behind. He was having a silent battle with himself. A pulsing headache and a bone-deep tiredness. Almost like that day Clara found him trying to contain his wolf from going mad. She knew that it was only a matter of time before his sleepless nights become nightmares. Not just for himself, but also for everyone around him. There had been history books about wolves going mad from insomnia. The only cure? Mind wolves. Wolves that were gifted by the moon goddess to guide emotions and minds. Wolves like Clara S. But ever since mind wolves were hunted and banned by most packs, unlucky wolves that had soul deep insomnia could only wait for madness to take them away. Clara wondered if there was a way for her to help him secretly. Why do I care so much about him? She asked herself. No answer came to her. She stepped away from the shadow, just about to catch up to Bianca, when Sebastian suddenly opened the heavy council room doors. And collided with Clara. Oof. Books scattered across the polished marble floor. Papers fluttered everywhere. I am so sorry. Clara said meekly. Sebastian instinctively bent to help gather the fallen books. I'm the one who wasn't looking. Clara kept her head low. Her heart was racing so near to this man. She refused to make an eye contact. Sebastian was about to hand her a book when... Clara. Bianca's sharp voice rang in the hallway. She had come back because Clara was not fast enough in catching up with her. Clara didn't need to see Bianca's face to know her irritation. Bianca was always irritated with Clara, and Clara was already so very tired to try to be good enough for Bianca. What are you doing? Bianca asked. Clara immediately stood. I'm sorry. My bag fell. You dropped my books? Bianca's voice rose. At the same time, Clara caught a movement from Sebastian. He was pinching his forehead again, as though his headache had returned. I'm sorry, Clara whispered. I told you to wait quietly. I was. You can't even hold one bag properly? Bianca raised her voice. Clara lowered her head. I'm sorry. A surge of humiliation tore through her. Being treated like this in front of Sebastian, she felt incredibly small, but more than that, she felt almost disappointed because Sebastian had just stayed silent. What do you wish him do? Clara asked herself. He is an alpha and I am an omega. Clara exhaled. Though disappointed, she still wanted to ease his headache and tiredness. Even for a bit. She would feel guilty if Sebastian became mad with her knowing. She reached out to her wolf, releasing only a tiny drop of her power to Sebastian's mind. Just one drop of calmness, peace and clarity. Her wolf purred inside her, happy for this act. While his wolf, moments ago clawing desperately inside his chest, went completely still. A deep, contented rumble echoed through Sebastian's mind. His headache eased instantly. The pounding behind his eyes vanished. Even his breathing slowed. Clara smiled a little, knowing that. Then she cut off her connection to Sebastian's mind, sealing her secret tunnel to his mind, and hurriedly followed Bianca before she got increasingly irritated. Bianca, in the meanwhile, was clueless about it all. Good, Clara thought, it's better if no one knows. Unknown to Clara, Sebastian's gaze lingered on both girls. Not suspicious. Just thoughtful. Almost curious. He kept looking from one girl to another. The ride home was quiet. Until Bianca dumped her notebook onto Clara's lap. There. Clara looked down. There were only 3 pages. Most of them half finished. That's all? I couldn't write while talking. Clara sighed. I'll figure it out. You'd better. Bianca looked out the window. I embarrassed myself. Clara looked up. What? When Sebastian asked what I thought. Oh. She hadn't written that part down. Strange. What did you say? Nothing important. Bianca waved dismissively. Just solve it. Clara nodded. She didn't notice Bianca had deliberately omitted every question Sebastian had directed at her personally. The next afternoon, another council meeting was set in motion after school. Another wait outside for Clara, the Omega. Clara expected to spend the next several hours on the hallway bench. Instead, barely 15 minutes passed before the doors opened again. Sebastian stood there. When their eyes met, Clara's heart pounded. Her cheeks became rosy. She almost forgot how to breathe. Would you like your Omega to come in? Sebastian asked. What? Clara's jaw clenched. Without her knowing, she balled her fists hard. That's how he sees me in Omega. Clara couldn't help the hurt entering her chest. It felt like a dull pain. A pain that should never had been there because Clara was never supposed to hope for Sebastian to act toward her a different way. Everyone looked toward Sebastian, waiting for an explanation. Bianca seems unwell, Sebastian said, perhaps she can assist. Clara stared. Me? Bianca nodded so enthusiastically it was almost frightening. Yes. She hurried and grabbed Clara's arm before Clara could protest. Come. In an instant Clara found herself inside the council chamber. Every conversation stopped. Felix blinked. Declan raised both eyebrows. Vanessa looked openly surprised. Nolan looked uncomfortable. And Omega. Inside the Alpha Council room? Almost unheard of. Bianca ignored every stare. She dropped into her chair dramatically. I'm feeling faint. She shoved a decorative fan into Clara's hands. Fan me. The room became painfully quiet. Clara obeyed. Not because she wanted to. Because refusing would only create another scene. She felt the weight of every gaze. Disapproval. Confusion. Some embarrassment. Using an Omega like a servant this openly was considered disgracefully outdated. Even among noble packs. Yet no one said anything. Because Sebastian said nothing. Clara's chest tightened yet again. That same dull ache hollowing her chest. So this was truly how he saw her too. A servant. Someone beneath notice. She lowered her eyes. Why did that hurt? She barely knew him. Let's continue. Sebastian returned to the evidence board. There were victims, timelines, and maps. All had been displayed elaborately with careful notes. They were pinned with needles connecting some of them. Clara immediately knew that what they were missing was exactly that. A connection. Between the victims, the murder. The connection is important to determine the motive. Clara continued fanning Bianca. Her gaze drifted across the photographs. Across the notes. Across every victim profile. Then a pattern emerged at the back of her head. Small. Subtle. But impossible to ignore. She quietly uncapped Bianca's water bottle. As she helped Bianca take a sip, she leaned closer. Omegas, she whispered to Bianca's ear. The sound was impossible for normal humans to hear, but werewolves could hear this low decibel sound if whispered closely to their ears. Clara made sure that only Bianca could hear. Bianca immediately straightened. Omegas, she repeated Clara without processing the facts herself. Clara was so tempted to roll her eyes. Typical Bianca. But the room now turned toward Bianca and her, who was still helping Bianca drink. So she forced herself to not roll her eyes. Sebastian folded his arms. What do you mean? Did Clara see it wrong? Because Clara swore he saw. Sebastian flashed a grin for a quick second. Bianca blinked. She looked helplessly toward Clara. Clara reacted instantly. She knelt beside Bianca's chair, pretending to smooth the hem of Bianca's skirt while whispering, the victims. No Omegas. Bianca repeated immediately. The victims. There are no Omegas. Silence. Felix frowned. She's right. Declan looked toward the board. The first two victims were betas. The third was an alpha. No Omegas. Then he glanced toward Bianca. I thought yesterday you said the murderer hated alphas. Bianca flushed. Clara frowned internally. She said that? Not entirely wrong. Just far too simple. The room fell quiet again. Sebastian slowly turned away from the board. His gaze settled not on Bianca, but on Clara. His eyes were unreadable. His gaze felt cold, sharp, and observant. As though he had noticed everything. But he couldn't, right? Clara's heart pounded again. Then, to everyone's astonishment, what do you think? His voice remained calm. Clara Whitaker? The fan stopped moving. Clara's breath caught. Beside her, Bianca went rigid. Slowly, very slowly, Bianca turned her head. The warning in her eyes was unmistakable. Don't you dare. Clara swallowed. One question echoed louder in her mind. How did Sebastian Westbrook know her name? Sebastian's POV. Vega is the star of The Liar, forever tied to music. Some melodies are powerful enough to be remembered long after their singer has disappeared. Sebastian regretted asking the question the moment Clara Whittaker froze. He hadn't intended to frighten her. Yet the moment he'd spoken her name, she had looked as though she'd been caught stealing. Her fingers tightened around the fan in her hands. Her breathing became uneven. She wouldn't even meet his eyes. Why? He wasn't accusing her of anything. He was merely curious. Curious. And perhaps testing a theory. The night earlier, unable to sleep yet again, Sebastian had buried himself in Academy records. If his wolf insisted the mysterious scent belonged somewhere near Bianca and Clara, then he'd start there. Finding information about Bianca Montgomery had taken less than 5 minutes. Future Luna of the Western Highlands Pack. Only daughter of Alpha Montgomery. Captain of the Debate Society. Former fencing champion. Favorite color, soft pink. Favorite flower, pink roses. Favorite dessert, honey tarts. Everything about Bianca was public knowledge. Sebastian also found academic records about the two girls on the day of their acceptance. Every student at Alpha Academy was graded on their first day and categorized into ability, strength, intellect, influence, and magic. Coming from one of the Alpha Royal bloodline from her pack, Bianca had influence grade B. That was the maximum possible score for influence. She easily became Alpha Academy's Queen Bee. Finding Clara Whittaker, however, was another matter entirely. Sebastian frowned as he turned page after page. No family records. No previous school. No noble lineage. No extracurricular clubs. No awards. Nothing. It was as though she had appeared from nowhere. Only one thin enrollment file existed. He opened it. Clara Whittaker. Pack, Western Highlands. Status, Omega. Magical ability assessment, sleep affinity. Classification, support magic. Practical grade, F. Overall admission qualification, magical ability. Sebastian stared. Sleep. His heartbeat skipped. He reread the line. Again. And again. Sleep affinity. He remembered warm fingers against his forehead. A lullaby. His wolf finally resting. Could. No. Impossible. An F-rank Omega? His wolf was no ordinary wolf. It was a royal alpha wolf. Ancient, untamable, powerful. Even renowned healers couldn't soothe it. How could an F-rank ability calm something that countless S-rank mages had failed to touch? Oh, Sebastian had called many S-rank mages to his pack. He had been battling this insomnia for years. The past few weeks had been the worst. It made no sense. Unless the records were incomplete. Or Clara was hiding something. Back in the council chamber, Sebastian kept his expression perfectly neutral. What do you think, Clara Whittaker? Silence. Clara blinked. And me? He nodded. You've been listening. She glanced toward Bianca. Then toward the floor. Finally, she spoke so softly Sebastian almost missed it. I think, she swallowed. Bianca is right. Bianca's shoulders visibly relaxed. Clara continued. Professor Whitman always says she is the brightest student in class. Her smile looked painfully forced. There are no Omega victims. Sebastian folded his arms. And? Clara hesitated. She knew something. He could see it. She kept looking down as though trying to make herself smaller. It's all right. He softened his voice. Explain. No one is going to punish you for a wrong answer. Another glance toward Bianca. Then. Alpha Owen, she spoke carefully, wasn't he exactly the nicest alpha? Declan raised an eyebrow. How do you know that? Clara looked genuinely startled. Someone had asked. Her fingers twisted together. You only really see people's true faces when you're beneath them. The room became quiet. She continued almost apologetically. Omegas talk. Sebastian listened attentively. Alpha Owen had already changed personal Omegas 3 times. Felix frowned. I didn't know that. Clara nodded faintly. The last one I heard didn't fare very well. Silence. Sebastian felt something unpleasant settle in his stomach. His own pack hadn't treated omegas that way for generations. Merit decided status, not secondary gender. Several omegas even served as council advisors. One had even become Luna through military distinction. He had assumed most large packs had modernized. Apparently, he had assumed wrong. Sebastian looked toward Declan. Interview ON's former omegas. Declan immediately nodded. I'll start tonight. Clara quietly lowered her head again. As though believing the questioning had ended. She resumed gently fanning Bianca, trying to disappear. Sebastian watched her for another moment. Then a different question surfaced. One that had been bothering him since the autopsy. What about the cause of death? Bianca looked up immediately. What about it? Nolan already. I'm asking Clara. The room fell silent again. Clara's hand stopped moving. And me? Nolan looked ready to object. Dark circles beneath his eyes betrayed another sleepless night spent studying impossible toxins. Sebastian met his gaze briefly. A silent message. Trust me. Nolan slowly sat back and Sebastian returned his attention to Clara. There were no bruises. No broken bones. No internal trauma. No obvious poison. He spoke evenly. As though Owen simply fell asleep. Clara's expression changed. Not dramatically. Just enough. Her eyes unfocused. Thinking. She forgot to act frightened. For the first time Sebastian saw the mind Professor Whitman had praised. Maybe, she whispered, exhaustion really did kill him. Felix frowned. Exhaustion? Clara nodded hesitantly. If someone was already close then maybe the murderer only gave one final push. Perhaps an insignificant dose of wolfsbane just enough to add to the underlying exhaustion. Nobody spoke. Sebastian felt his heartbeat quicken. She wasn't finished. She looked toward the photographs. Didn't Alpha Owen already have trouble sleeping? Nolan looked up sharply. How do you know that? Clara blinked. The infirmary gossip. She quickly looked down again. The second victim also couldn't sleep. Everyone turned toward Felix. The cafeteria reports. Felix hurriedly shuffled through his notes. Wait. He found something. Yes, right. He looked astonished. The second victim repeatedly snuck into the cafeteria kitchen after midnight. Clara nodded faintly. I heard she kept eating ice cream. She said it helped when she couldn't sleep. The room fell utterly silent. Sebastian stared at the evidence board. Mistreated omegas. Sleep deprivation. Two completely different patterns. Found by the same quiet omega who supposedly possessed an F-rank support ability. He finally understood. Professor Whitman hadn't been wrong. The brilliant strategist wasn't Bianca. It was Clara. She simply kept handing her conclusions to someone else. Why? His wolf stirred weakly. Still exhausted. Still searching. Sleep. Sebastian winced. His own insomnia had begun years ago. But it had worsened dramatically these past few weeks. The same week students had begun disappearing. His thoughts aligned so suddenly it almost hurt. What if someone wasn't simply killing students? What if they were first making them unable to sleep? His fingers unconsciously tightened around the edge of the table. If that were true, then Sebastian himself wasn't merely investigating the murders. He might already be one of the killer's intended victims. His gaze drifted back toward Clara. She had already lowered her head once more. Quietly fanning Bianca. Pretending she had contributed nothing. Pretending she wished to remain invisible. Sebastian made a silent decision. He would need her. Not Bianca. Clara. Whether she liked it or not. Because if his instincts were right, the invisible Omega might be the only person in Alpha Academy capable of helping him solve two mysteries at once. The serial murderer. And the identity of his Violet Bell. Clara's POV. Bluebells symbolize humility and unwavering gratitude. They bow low to the earth, yet bloom together in quiet strength. The drive home was too quiet. Too suffocating. Too unlike Bianca. Clara almost wished Bianca would yell. Scold her for carrying the wrong bag. Complain about dinner. Order her to rewrite another assignment. Anything. Instead, silence. The kind that made every second heavier than the last. The luxury sedan glided through the academy gates, the only sound was the steady hum of its engine. Bianca sat beside the window. One leg crossed over the other. Tap. 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 Her fingernails clicked against the leather armrest. Clara folded her hands neatly on her lap. She knew that rhythm. Bianca was angry. Very angry. Slowly, Bianca turned. Her eyes swept over Clara from head to toe. Lingering not on her face. On her body. Her round cheeks. The softness of her upper arms. The fullness around her waist. Her broad hips. Her thick calves beneath her academy skirt. Every extra curve suddenly felt unbearably obvious. Clara instinctively crossed her arms over herself. Trying to disappear. Trying to become smaller. Impossible. She had never felt so big. And yet so small. Bianca clicked her tongue. Don't flatter yourself. Clara looked down. Just because Sebastian spoke to you directly. Her lip curled, doesn't mean he's interested in you. Clara's fingers tightened around the hem of her skirt. Of course, she barely whispered it. Bianca wasn't finished. He's so far out of your league. Another pause. You're fat. The word landed harder than a slap. And ugly. Another. A man like Sebastian Westbrook would never be interested in someone who looks like you. Clara stared at her own hands. I know. Bianca did not need to remind her, but apparently Bianca wanted to. Bianca wanted to etch the embarrassment so deep in Clara's bone. Without mercy. He'd be embarrassed to stand beside you. I know. You looked ridiculous standing in that council room. I'm sorry. You should have kept your mouth shut. Clara swallowed. I'm sorry. The insults continued for the rest of the journey. Each one quieter than the last. Not because Bianca softened. Because Clara stopped hearing the individual words. They blurred together. Fat. Ugly. Pathetic. Worthless. Invisible. By the time the car pulled into the manor driveway, Clara's vision had become blurry. The moment Bianca stepped out, she slammed the car door behind her without looking back. She didn't even bother to make sure the car door was closed properly. Clara remained seated. Head lowered. Her shoulders trembled silently. No sound escaped. Only tears. One after another. She hurriedly wiped them away before they could stain her uniform. A gentle knock came from the driver's seat. The elderly family driver, Mr. Cooper, quietly stepped outside. He closed the rear passenger door that Bianca slammed just moments ago. Not to trap her. To shield her. Giving her privacy. For several moments neither of them spoke. Finally, I'm sorry, Miss Clara. His voice was gentle. I heard everything. Clara quickly wiped her cheeks. I'm all right. No. He smiled sadly. You're pretending to be. She laughed weakly through her tears. Am I that obvious? Only to people who care. Silence settled again. Then Cooper smiled. For what it's worth, I think you're beautiful. Clara looked up. He chuckled softly. And before you argue, I don't only mean your appearance. You have one thing Miss Bianca doesn't. Clara blinked. What? A beautiful heart. Clara's lips trembled. Another tear escaped despite herself. She looked away. If it wasn't for Alpha Montgomery paying for my mother's hospital bills. She struggled to finish the sentence. I don't think I could put up with her any longer. The driver nodded quietly. He had known all along. Everyone in Montgomery Manor had known. After another moment, he spoke again. I've been hearing the girls gossip. They say Alpha Sebastian is still looking for Violet Bell. Clara smiled sadly. They talk about her every day. So. He looked at her through the rearview mirror. Are you ever going to tell him? Clara stiffened. It was Mr. Cooper who took her to the ball that night. It was also Mr. Cooper who took her back in a rush just after midnight. The fact that Alpha Sebastian has searched the entire academy means he saw something worthwhile in you that night. She shook her head immediately. No. Bianca was right. The words tasted bitter. Someone like Alpha Sebastian would lose interest the moment he discovered Violet Bell is. She laughed quietly, me. The driver sighed. I don't believe that. I know. Clara smiled gratefully. Thank you for trying to comfort me. It's really sweet of you. She opened the car door. I really am alright. He knew she wasn't. But he let her go anyway. The following afternoon. Bianca? Clara stood outside their class with the usual stack of notebooks. Aren't we leaving? No. Bianca didn't even look up from the mirror. You're staying. Clara blinked. Staying? I'm going to the council meeting alone. You'll only embarrass me again. The word stung. Yet, alongside the hurt, another feeling quietly bloomed. Relief. For the first time she had an afternoon to herself. Hannah almost cried from happiness. You actually have free time? Clara laughed. A little. The two girls occupied one of the quieter corners of the student lounge. Hannah sat surrounded by 3 laptops, 2 tablets, an enchanted crystal, and enough wires to confuse even Felix. Clara curled into the nearby sofa with a novel resting comfortably in her lap. This is nice, she exhaled the sweet words. Hannah barely looked away from her screens. Click. 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 So. She grinned. What happened in the secret meeting? Clara turned another page. I can't say. Hannah gasped dramatically. You know something? I promised. You always promise. Clara smiled apologetically. I really can't. Hannah groaned. Fine. If you won't tell me. She cracked her knuckles. I'll find out myself. Clara looked over the top of her book. Hannah. What? You aren't hacking the academy? No. A pause. I'm improving accessibility. Clara laughed. That's still hacking. It's ethical curiosity, Hannah debated. It absolutely isn't. Hannah ignored her completely. Her fingers flew across glowing holographic runes. I can't access Professor Whitman's files. Clara responded without her eyes leaving her novel. Vanessa upgraded the surveillance network. She's a beast in magical engineering. Clara smiled. She is. Oh. Hannah suddenly straightened. I got something. Clara lowered her book. What? The ballroom cameras. The night Sebastian was attacked. Clara froze. What? The recording flickered onto the center screen. The masquerade. The dancing. Students. Music. Then a girl in a purple gown appeared. Purple mask. Crystal heels. Lavender ribbons. Clara's heartbeat stopped. Me. Hannah leaned closer. Whoever she is, I think she used charm magic to mask her identity. Because this kind of static flicker on cameras only appears when someone uses charms. Clara's fingers tightened around her novel. Her mother's charm. Please don't notice. Please. The recording continued. Sebastian collapsed. The mysterious girl caught him. Then. Soft singing. The security crystal couldn't capture every note clearly. But the melody remained unmistakable. Hannah suddenly stopped typing. Completely. Very slowly she turned her head. Toward Clara. No way. Clara forced an awkward smile, pretending to be confused. What? Hannah's eyes grew wider. I've heard that lullaby before. Clara's stomach dropped. Your mom. Hannah whispered, used to sing that when we visited her. Silence. 1 heartbeat. 2. Then Hannah slapped both hands over her mouth. Her eyes sparkled. Oh. My. Goodness. She pointed at the frozen image of Violet Bell. Then at Clara. Then back again. You. Clara opened her mouth. Hannah. Hannah suddenly squealed so loudly, you're Violet Bell. Clara's eyes widened in horror. Hannah. Shoo. Hannah immediately clamped both hands over her own mouth. Then leaned so close their foreheads nearly touched. Her voice dropped to an excited whisper. You are the girl Alpha Sebastian has been searching the entire academy for. Clara closed her eyes. There was no denying it anymore. Not to Hannah. Not after the lullaby. Hannah must have heard it multiple times. It was, after all, her mother's favorite lullaby. When she opened them again, she found Hannah practically vibrating with excitement. And somehow Clara had a feeling this revelation was about to change everything. Hannah clasped Clara's hands on hers. Tell me everything. Please. Clara's POV. Lavender symbolizes silence, devotion, and healing. Some fragrances linger long after the flower has withered, quietly reminding those who once found peace in its bloom. Telling Hannah everything had felt unexpectedly relieving. And absolutely terrifying. Hannah walked beside Clara with her hands clasped behind her back, unable to stop smiling. You seriously entered Sebastian Westbrook's mind? A little. You put a royal alpha wolf to sleep? Accidentally. You wore that gorgeous purple dress? Clara covered her face. Please stop. Hannah laughed so hard she nearly stumbled over the academy's cobblestone path. I cannot believe I've been best friends with Violet Bell this whole time. You have to stop calling me that. No. Hannah, Clara whined, but she was smiling. No. Clara sighed dramatically. I regret telling you. You absolutely do. For a little while they laughed. Despite the murders, the investigation, Bianca. Everything felt almost normal. The academy remained unusually lively despite the recent murders. Every notice board still displayed the same enchanted announcement. The Alpha Council is searching for the Violet Bell. The owner of the recovered crystal heel is requested to come forward and sing one specific lullaby only she knows. Clara instinctively lowered her head as they walked past. Hannah noticed immediately. You're looking, she teased. I'm not. You absolutely are. Clara smiled sheepishly. Maybe a little. As they crossed the central courtyard, a familiar crowd came into view. Oh, Hannah whispered. Sebastian. Even from a distance, he was impossible to miss. Tall. Broad-shouldered. His black academy coat flowed behind him as he walked with Declan and Nolan toward the council wing. 3 girls suddenly stepped into his path. One clasped both hands dramatically. I've decided to tell the truth. I'm Violet Bell. So am I. Another hurriedly added. I lost my crystal shoe. Sebastian didn't even slow down. He walked straight past them. Declan sighed. Again? Nolan pinched the bridge of his nose. If you're really Violet Bell, what lullaby did you sing? The girls stared blankly. I forgot. Declan deadpanned. Convenient. And the crystal heel? Lost it. Also convenient. The girls hurried away in embarrassment while Sebastian continued walking without another glance. Clara immediately looked away. Her heartbeat had already quickened. Hannah quietly watched her. You actually like him. Clara almost tripped. You don't have to answer. Hannah smiled knowingly. At the crossroads outside the administration building, Sebastian, Declan, and Nolan continued toward another council meeting. While Clara and Hannah turned in the opposite direction toward the city hospital. For just a moment, Clara had the strange feeling Sebastian glanced back. When she looked again, he was gone. It must have had been her own feeling. You could just tell him. Hannah broke the silence. Clara shook her head immediately. No. Why? There are too many reasons. Tell me one. Clara looked ahead. My mother. Hannah waited quietly. Alpha Montgomery still pays every hospital bill. Clara raised one finger. The treatments. The specialists. The medicine. Another 2 fingers raised. If Bianca becomes angry enough, she couldn't finish. Hannah understood anyway. And besides, Clara laughed softly. Imagine Sebastian discovering Violet Bell is. She gestured helplessly toward herself. Me. Clara continued, he danced with someone elegant. Confident. Beautiful. I only borrowed those things for one night. Hannah's smile faded. You really believe that? Clara nodded. Bianca wasn't wrong. Silence lingered between them. Then Hannah suddenly declared, "Fine. If rich alphas are useless," she pointed dramatically toward the sky. "I'll become rich." Clara blinked. "What?" "I'll make an app. The greatest app ever created. I'll earn millions." Hannah clasped Clara's hands in hers. "No billions." Clara laughed. "Hannah. I'm serious. I'll pay your mother's hospital bills." And then, she poked Clara's shoulder. "You can reject every alpha you want." Clara couldn't stop smiling. "You're ridiculous." "I know. But you smiled." "I did." Mission accomplished. Their hospital visit felt painfully brief. Her mother's condition had worsened again. She tired after only a few minutes of conversation. Even smiling seemed exhausting. Clara held her hand until she finally drifted asleep. "I'll come tomorrow." She kissed her mother's forehead. "I love you." "I love you too," came the sleepy reply. As Clara quietly left the room, she prayed, "Please just give us a little more time." By the time she returned to the Montgomery estate, night had already fallen. Her routine never changed: prepare Bianca's bath, brush her hair, iron tomorrow's uniform, finish Bianca's homework, arrange tomorrow's books, polish her shoes. Only after Bianca finally fell asleep did Clara climb the narrow ladder leading to her tiny attic room. She had barely changed into her nightdress when... thunk. Clara frowned. Another sound came. Clearer this time. Thunk. Against the window. Slowly she pulled the curtain aside. Her breath caught. Beyond the estate wall, near the edge of the little forest, stood Sebastian. Moonlight painted silver along his dark hair. He looked directly at her window. Then silently mouthed 4 words. "Meet me downstairs." Even without hearing him, her wolf understood. Her gift naturally read intention through movement. Clara froze. Was that an alpha command? No. She didn't feel compelled. Then why? She glanced toward the attic hatch. Silence. She knew too well that at this hour Bianca had already fallen to deep slumber. Just in case, she reached out to Bianca's mind downstairs, slightly peeking if she was truly asleep. She was. Then carefully Clara drew every strand of her magic inward. Layer upon layer. She buried the scent of her true wolf. Lavender. Rain. Wildflowers. Gone. Only the faint scent of an ordinary omega remained. Just in case. Moments later, a wolf slipped beneath the estate fence. Under the moonlight, her fur gleamed burgundy. Within the shadows, however, hints of muted violet shimmered softly. Sebastian stared for a brief moment. Beautiful. The word escaped before he seemed to realize he'd spoken it. He looked away almost immediately. His words brought warmth to her cheeks. But just as quickly, she pushed away all favorable thoughts about Sebastian, saying to herself that Sebastian was just being nice. That she should never take words from a werewolf on the brink of madness from lack of sleep as truths. His own body shifted. Bones cracked. Muscles expanded. Not long, a massive black wolf emerged beneath the moon. He looked majestic, royal, and powerful. Despite the soul-deep tiredness leaking through his mind. "Follow me," he said, turning his back to walk ahead of Clara. The forest gradually opened into a quiet clearing. Nestled among towering pines stood a cozy wooden villa. Warm amber light glowed through its windows. Smoke curled lazily from its chimney. A fire crackled outside, surrounded by several wooden stools. The place felt peaceful. Sebastian padded inside without hesitation. As though he had visited countless times. Clara followed cautiously. Immediately, his scent surrounded her. Warm cedar. Leather. Rain-soaked earth. It felt masculine, comforting. Yet beneath everything, lay something else. Bone-deep exhaustion. It almost had a scent of its own. Her heart tightened. Remaining in wolf form, Sebastian finally spoke, "I know you're the real mind behind Bianca's reputation." Clara froze near the doorway. Cold night air brushed her fur. She remained silent. Sebastian didn't press. "I don't intend to force you into conflict with the Montgomery family. Your relationship with them is your concern. I have neither the right nor the intention to interfere. Clara blinked. He wasn't threatening her. He wasn't even judging her. Then his expression shifted. There is one more thing. His wolf slowly circled around her. Observing. Searching. I've been looking for someone. The girl from the masquerade ball. The violet belle. Clara's heart skipped. I narrowed her scent down to 2 people. His golden eyes met hers. You. He paused for a brief moment that felt too long. And Bianca. Silence. So was it you? For one terrifying heartbeat, Clara forgot how to breathe. Then she lowered her head and said, no. Sebastian simply waited. I've never attended the masquerade. My invitation belonged to Miss Bianca. I stayed home. She forced herself to continue. You probably saw my academy records. My magic is sleep affinity. He nodded. My power was graded F. She laughed awkwardly. I can help children sleep. Sometimes anxious puppies. But, her ears flattened. A royal alpha wolf? She slowly shook her head. Someone like you could never be affected by someone like me. It's simply isn't possible. Silence. Sebastian watched her for a long moment. Neither agreeing nor disagreeing. The silence stretched until Clara bit her lip. He doesn't believe me. Or perhaps. He now thought she was completely useless. Finally Sebastian sighed. A tired, defeated sound, maybe. He looked toward the fireplace. I've tried 42 sleeping tonics. Clara blinked. 42? They all failed, Sebastian said. I've consulted royal physicians. Wolf shamans. 3S rank magicians. None of them know why my wolf refuses to rest. He gave a humorless laugh. So, his tired eyes met hers again. Why not try one more sleep-inducing magician? Any help is still help. Clara's chest tightened painfully. The future Alpha King no longer sounded proud. He sounded desperate. Before she could answer, Sebastian walked toward a table covered in fresh investigation files. We also found another victim tonight, he suddenly said. Clara immediately looked up. Another Alpha heir named Miles. He hadn't slept properly for almost 3 weeks. He opened another report. Owen, the second victim. And the first. Along with the new victim. They all shared one thing. Sebastian looked straight into Clara's round eyes. Progressive sleep deprivation. His claws scraped lightly against the wooden floor. I think your theory was right. The murders don't begin with death. They begin with stolen sleep. The fire crackled between them. Then Sebastian quietly admitted the thought that had haunted him for days. I've had insomnia for years. But it only became dramatically worse over these past few weeks. His wolf lowered its massive head. Weariness radiated from every part of him. I don't think that's a coincidence anymore. His golden eyes were steady on hers. I don't believe I'm only investigating the killer. A small, humorless smile appeared on his black majestic wolf. I think I'm one of the people they're trying to kill. Clara took one unconscious step toward him. She hadn't meant to. Her concern moved her before caution could stop her. Sebastian noticed. His wolf relaxed just slightly. I need your help, Clara. Not because you're Bianca's strategist. And not because I still think you're hiding something. His voice was steady. But because if your magic can give me even 1 hour of real sleep, it may keep me alive long enough to catch whoever is hunting us. The fire popped softly between them. For the first time since the masquerade, Clara looked at Sebastian not as the untouchable future Alpha King, but as someone who was quietly fighting a battle he could no longer win alone. Clara's POV. Camellias symbolize admiration, longing, and quiet devotion, feelings that bloomed silently, asking for nothing in return. The wolf standing before Clara was enormous. Black. Majestic. A creature every werewolf child had heard stories about. A royal alpha wolf. Yet the words coming from him were desperate. I need your help. Clara couldn't understand it. Why would Sebastian Westbrook, a future Alpha King, seek help from an F-ranked Omega when even S-ranked magicians had failed? The answer sat heavily inside her chest. Because she could help him. She already had. Twice. Maybe one more time wouldn't he hurt? As long as she stayed careful. No lullaby. Never the lullaby. That melody belonged only to her and her mother, and Sebastian was already searching for the mysterious girl through that song. She needed another way. Her paws remained rooted to the wooden floor. Doubt held her still. When Sebastian saw her unmoving, he released a weary sigh. Then shifted back into his human form. His human naked form. Clara, as well as her wolf, could not resist looking at his perfect sculpted butt, which unfortunately was immediately covered when Sebastian pulled a towel from the sofa. As though he had prepared for this encounter. No. That couldn't he be. Perhaps Sebastian transformed into his wolf form in a habit and was accustomed to walking nakedly in this villa, which Clara got more convinced by the minute that it belonged to Sebastian. As though Sebastian just remembered that Clara was there, he muttered, "Sorry." He shook his head, pinching the bridge of his nose. "The lack of sleep makes me forget simple things." Clara blinked. He was apologizing to her? Sebastian gestured toward the hallway. "The first room belonged to my mother. If you need clothes after shifting, there are still some things there." Clara lowered her head. "No, Alpha Sebastian." She took a small step backward. "I think I should return before anyone notices I'm gone." She barely finished speaking before Sebastian quietly stepped between her and the still open door. Not aggressively. Simply blocking her retreat. His expression wasn't commanding. It was pleading. "Please don't go." His voice had become quieter than she'd ever heard it. "Will you at least try?" Clara swallowed. She looked down to her paws on the balcony of the villa. "Is that an order, Alpha?" For a long moment, Sebastian simply looked at her. Then he slowly shook his head. "No. It's a request." He hesitated. "And you can just call me Sebastian." Clara's ears twitched. "A request? Not an Alpha-S command?" When she remained silent, Sebastian continued, "I'll compensate you." That made her finally look up. "Compensate?" He nodded. "I don't expect you to help me for nothing." Clara had no idea how to respond. No one had ever paid her directly for her work. She cooked, cleaned, studied, completed assignments, cared for Bianca. Yet every reward had always gone to someone else. For one session, Sebastian thought aloud, 10 skyras? Clara's eyes widened. 10? That was more money than she'd ever held herself. She could buy a brand new pair of shoes with 10 skyras. When she didn't answer immediately, Sebastian frowned, misunderstanding her silence. 20? He pinched the bridge of his nose. No. His breathing suddenly became uneven. The color drained from his face. His headache had returned. Hard. He staggered a step. Both hands flew to his temples. "No," he whispered, "not now." His balance faltered. Without thinking, Clara shifted. She caught him before he could hit the floor. The sudden weight nearly knocked both of them over. They landed awkwardly on the rug beside the fireplace. Sebastian leaned heavily against her shoulder, his breathing ragged. Sweat dampened his hair. His wolf whimpered inside her mind. She had heard enough. "All right." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I'll try." Gently she rested 2 fingers against the side of his head, where the pain seemed strongest. Then she opened the smallest thread of her gift. Not enough to reveal herself. Not enough to draw attention. Just enough. She felt it immediately. The exhaustion. It wasn't ordinary fatigue. It felt like dry earth that hadn't known rain for years. His wolf wasn't angry anymore. It was simply tired. So incredibly tired. Clara let her power flow like a cool stream over sun-scorched ground. Slowly. Carefully. She soothed the edges. Softened the relentless ache. Never enough to erase it completely. Only enough to give his mind a chance to rest. She resisted every instinct telling her to do more. She couldn't. If she did, Sebastian would realize her academy records were wrong. She was never an F-ranked mage. She belonged to an ancient bloodline whose true abilities had been hidden for generations. No one at Alpha Academy knew such wolves still existed. And she intended to keep it that way. Gradually Sebastian's breathing steadied. The tight lines across his forehead relaxed. His wolf gave one long, contented sigh. Then silence. He had fallen asleep. Clara smiled faintly. 3 hours, she murmured, that's all I can safely give. Only then did she realize how awkwardly they had fallen. And how naked they both were. Naked and pressed together. Sebastian's towel had dropped when he caught his head. While Clara had just shifted and had no time to grab clothes before catching him in a hurry. Sebastian's face was pressed to her bosoms, as though they were pillows. In his sleep, he nudged his face deeper into her cleavage, which made Clara's face hot and reddened. Her nipples rose, especially because every exhale coming from Sebastian's mouth blowed hot air to her nipples. Dear moon goddess. Oh, that was not all. Clara's eyes betrayed her and dared to look even further down too. What a glorious sight. Willow beamed, he is a fine male wolf. Enough, Willow. Clara tried so hard to erase all unbecoming thoughts from her mind. All hers and Willow's unbecoming thoughts. His wolf had been purring so hard, Willow mused, I like this one. She carefully eased Sebastian's weight off her and with lots and lots of effort, helped him lie more comfortably on the sofa. His muscular body was heavy, so Clara had to grab a bigger part of his broad shoulders, abs, and even thighs. You like this, Willow teased. Clara ignored her. You are we. Stop it. Once she had tucked Sebastian on the sofa, she covered his body with the blanket. Then she ran toward the room Sebastian had pointed before. Her cheeks burned red, her entire body burned with heat, and her garden was indeed wet. But she had to stop herself. Because a relationship between Clara and Sebastian could never happen. Never. Impossible. Willow purred inside her mind. He likes us. He likes sleeping, Clara rebutted. Same difference. Clara ignored her mischievous wolf. She quietly looked inside the room. The room still felt lived in despite years of disuse. There were photographs, books, a vase of dried lavender. Everything had been lovingly preserved. She opened the wardrobe. The dresses were elegant, beautiful, and much smaller than she expected. She held one against herself. It wouldn't fit. Not even close. For a fleeting moment she caught her reflection in the mirror. Round cheeks. Soft arms. Curved waist. Wide hips. She sighed. The old insecurities returned before she forced herself to look away. Then she noticed an oversized knitted shirt folded neatly on a nearby chair. Perhaps it had belonged to Sebastian's mother as comfortable loungewear. It fit loosely enough to wear at least for the night. Returning to the living room, Clara added another log to the fireplace. Warm orange light filled the cabin. She adjusted Sebastian's pillow, pulled the blanket a little higher over his shoulders. Then she settled onto the rug beside the fire. Drawing her knees to her chest. Outside, the wind whispered through the pine trees. Inside, for the first time in years, no, second time in years, Sebastian Westbrook slept peacefully. Watching the steady rise and fall of his breathing, Clara finally allowed herself to relax. Without realizing it, sleep quietly claimed her too. Clara's POV. Sunflowers symbolize warmth, hope, and quiet admiration. No matter how dark the night, they always turn toward the light. The first thing Clara noticed was the smell. Warm butter. Freshly toasted bread. Scrambled eggs. Her stomach growled before she even opened her eyes. For a blissful second, she forgot where she was. The crackling fireplace. The warmth wrapped around her. The oversized shirt she had fallen asleep in. Then. Her eyes flew open. She sat upright. The little villa. Sebastian. The serial murders. Everything rushed back at once. She looked toward the kitchen. There he was, already dressed with dark gray sweater and black trousers. His sleeves rolled neatly to his forearms. Morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, catching the loose strands of his still damp black hair. He stood by the stove as though he belonged there. Calm. Comfortable. Almost domestic. Clara stared. He is cooking. The sight somehow shocked her more than watching him transform into a gigantic wolf. He looked perfect. Completely different from the untouchable alpha everyone admired at school. Just a young man making breakfast. Sebastian glanced over his shoulder. Morning. Clara blinked. Morning. Her eyes drifted toward the window. Golden light peeked over the horizon. A dreadful thought suddenly struck her. What time is it? Sebastian casually looked at the wall clock. 5. 5? Her eyes nearly popped out of her head. 5? She practically launched herself off the sofa. I have to go. Bianca, her bath, breakfast, her uniform, my goodness. She hurried toward the door. But Sebastian caught her wrist gently. Wait. Clara froze. He looked at her. Then, at her stomach. Almost on cue. Growling. Her face turned bright red. On the other side, Sebastian's lips twitched. You should eat first. You haven't had dinner. Before Clara could ask how the hell did he know that, Sebastian already explained himself. I was watching you from Montgomery Mansion's window for a while before I called you to follow me. He nodded toward the table. I'll make sure you get back before anyone notices. You have my word. Clara hesitated. But when her eyes landed on the breakfast golden toast, soft scrambled eggs, peanut butter, strawberry jam, and beside them a tall glass of iced milk coffee, her eyes widened. Milk coffee. She hadn't had one and she couldn't even remember. At the Montgomery estate, Alpha Montgomery drank long black coffee. Bianca only drank iced matcha lattes. Clara simply drank water. Sometimes tea. Never. This. Sebastian quietly placed the glass in front of her. I wasn't sure how sweet you liked it, so I guessed. Clara carefully took one sip. It was cold, creamy, and perfect amount of sweet. Her eyes sparkled. She quickly covered her mouth. Really good. Sebastian smiled. I'm glad. She couldn't stop herself. She ate one bite. Then another. The toast was perfectly crisp. The eggs were soft. Everything was warm, comforting. Halfway through breakfast, Clara finally asked, how did you learn to cook? Sebastian buttered another slice of toast. My mother. He smiled faintly. She said everyone should know how to feed themselves. My father disagreed. He said royal heirs had servants. My mother ignored him. Clara laughed. I think I would be like your mother. So would she. His answer came so naturally that it warmed something inside Clara. A comfortable silence settled between them. Until, Sebastian looked up. His eyes traveled from her messy hair to the oversized shirt she wore. Then back again. He said, that's actually my shirt. Clara froze. What? My shirt. He pointed at it. The one you're wearing. Clara looked down. Then immediately choked on her coffee. URG. She kept on coughing. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, she said, I looked everywhere. None of your mother's clothes fit me, and then I found this and... Sebastian chuckled. It's all right. You can keep it. Clara blinked. Keep it? It suits you. Her cheeks instantly warmed. I thank you. For some reason she couldn't meet his eyes anymore. After breakfast, Sebastian stepped outside. Without warning, his body shifted. Bones cracked. Dark fur spread beneath the morning light. Moments later, the enormous black wolf stood before her once more. He lowered himself, then tilted his head sideways as if saying, climb on. Clara blinked. You want me to ride you? His tail flicked once. It'll be faster, he said, you'll reach the manor before sunrise. She hesitated. She looked down. Very heavy. Sebastian actually laughed. A genuine laugh. Rich and warm, and it sent tingling sensations to Clara's stomach. You think you're heavy? He looked almost offended. Don't underestimate me, he tilted his massive head again, Blossom. Clara froze. Blossom? Sebastian blinked. Sorry. His ears twitched awkwardly. It felt fitting. I wasn't thinking. Clara's heart skipped. Blossom. No one had ever called her something so gentle. She slowly climbed onto his broad back. His fur was impossibly soft beneath her fingers. Hold on. Then, they were gone. The world blurred. Trees became streaks of green. Cold morning wind rushed past them. Within seconds, the Montgomery estate appeared ahead. Clara could barely believe it. You weren't exaggerating. Sebastian S. Wolf huffed proudly. Just before reaching the estate, Clara quietly asked, "Can I ask you something?" He slowed. When, she hesitated. "Did your insomnia begin?" A long silence. Then. "The day my mother died." His answer was quiet. The entire continent mourned her. Clara remembered. The beloved Luna was killed in a tragic car accident. She had only been a child then. My wolf, Sebastian continued softly, never truly rested again. Another silence. Then he added, "You made it a little better." Clara looked down. "What?" "Last night." He glanced back slightly. "It only lasted a few hours." But, his voice became quieter. "It was real sleep. No healer. No physician. No S-rank mages. None of them ever managed that." He smiled faintly. "It wasn't as powerful as Violet Bell. I slept for nearly 2 days after meeting her. But yours was enough. More than enough." Clara's fingers tightened gently in his fur. She didn't know whether to feel guilty or happy. When they reached the edge of the estate, Sebastian remained in his wolf form. Then he magically produced a small leather pouch from the air and tossed it to Clara. She caught it instinctively. "What is this?" "Your payment." Clara opened it. 30 shining skyras. She stared. 30? For one session. She looked completely speechless. Sebastian smiled. So, his paws shifted beneath his massive build. "Same time tonight?" Clara blinked. "Tonight?" "I thought," she looked down. "My magic wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to cure me." He corrected gently. "But it helped." And, he looked at her earnestly. "I still need your mind." "The murders. If you can't speak freely during the council meetings, tell me there. Before our sessions. I'll still compensate you." Clara stared at the coins resting in her palm. 30 skyras. A few sessions that could cover part of her mother's treatment. With more sessions, maybe, just maybe, she wouldn't need to depend on Alpha Montgomery forever. For the first time in years, freedom didn't feel impossible. Sebastian crouched again in his wolf form. "I'll take you the rest of the way." Clara nodded absent-mindedly. Still overwhelmed. Moments later, she slipped off his back just outside the servants' entrance. The manor was only beginning to wake and she was right on time. "Thank you." Sebastian nodded. "Tonight. Same place." She smiled shyly. "All right." As she turned toward the house, she heard him mutter beneath his breath. So quietly he probably thought she couldn't hear. "She looks good wearing my shirt." A pause. "Damn it." Clara stopped walking. Her cheeks burned hotter than the sunrise. Her wolf immediately burst into delighted laughter. "Did you hear that?" Willow purred. "No. Liar. I didn't. He likes seeing us in his clothes." Willow purred again. "Willow. I think his wolf likes us even more." Clara buried her burning face in Sebastian's oversized sleeves as she hurried toward the manor. Her heart beat so loudly she was sure everyone would hear it. What had just happened? And why did the shirt she was wearing suddenly feel warmer than before? Jasmine symbolizes trust, quiet affection, and gentle companionship. Its fragrance is never loud, yet once noticed, it becomes impossible to forget. The first night had become the second. Then the third. Every night, after Bianca had fallen asleep and the Montgomery manor settled into silence, Clara would quietly slip out through the attic window. Every evening, Sebastian was already waiting. Sometimes in his wolf form. Sometimes leaning against the old oak tree outside the villa with a mug of coffee in one hand. Sometimes already making breakfast for the next morning. It slowly became a routine. Sebastian's headaches hadn't disappeared. But they were changing. On the first night, Clara managed barely 3 hours of peaceful sleep. On the third night, he slept for almost 4 hours. Not perfect. It was far from enough. but better than anyone had managed in years. Every session, Clara restrained herself. Just enough. Never more. Never enough to reveal who she truly was. Willow complained every single night. "You're starving a thirsty wolf." "I'm keeping us alive," Clara said to Willow. "He'd sleep so much better if you'd stop pretending to be an F-rank mage." "Exactly why I won't." Willow huffed dramatically. "You're no fun." Sebastian changed too. The heavy shadows beneath his eyes gradually faded. He no longer drifted asleep during Professor Whitman's lectures. His headaches came less often. Even his wolf looked lighter, happier. One afternoon after combat training, Declan folded his arms. "You've changed." Sebastian looked up from fastening his wrist guards. "What do you mean?" "You look." Declan frowned. "Alive." Nolan nodded. "You've stopped looking like someone attending his own funeral." Felix adjusted his glasses. "I also haven't seen you drinking sleeping tonics this week." Sebastian paused. Then smiled faintly. "I found." He searched for the right words, something that helps. That night, Clara arrived at the villa as usual. Sebastian already had a fire going. "You look less tired today," Clara noticed his fresh appearance. He smiled. "I slept without dreaming." Clara blinked. "No nightmares?" He nodded slowly. "I haven't done that in years." Her heart quietly swelled. "That's wonderful." Sebastian looked at her. He said, "Thank you." Then, without thinking, he said, "Blossom." Clara froze. Sebastian blinked. "What?" "You." She smiled softly, "Called me Blossom." He frowned. "I did?" "You've done it before." Silence. Sebastian rubbed the back of his neck. "Sorry. It just..." He searched for an explanation. "Felt right." "I don't know why." Clara looked down, hiding her smile. "I don't mind." Willow practically howled with laughter. "He's done it twice." "Coincidence?" "Keep lying to yourself." 3 days later, during the daily council meeting, the atmosphere inside the chamber felt heavier than ever. It was time to reveal the superficial investigation on the fourth victim. Professor Whitman's expression alone told everyone the news. "There has been..." He took a slow breath. "Another victim." "I have only told Sebastian as our forensic team is still investigating the body and the crime scene. Today we will only disclose the facts to you, the chosen ones. Please keep this investigation out of the public." Silence consumed the room. Felix quietly lowered his notebook. Nolan clenched his jaw. Sebastian remained expressionless. Professor Whitman tapped his magical calm device. A square light appeared in the air revealing pictures and report of the fourth murder. Then he continued, "Fourth victim. Caleb Stone. A second-year alpha. Heir to the Iron Crest pack. Second-tier territory. A crystal screen projected Caleb's profile. Another handsome alpha. Another funeral photograph. Another life gone." Felix began reading the report. History of severe insomnia. Worsened over the previous month. Cause of death still under investigation. Declan frowned. "Any connections?" Vanessa tapped another file. "There is one." She projected another record. 3 years ago. Caleb was disciplined for repeated bullying. Headmaster Frederick, who kept his mouth shut when Professor Whitman mentioned the facts of the case, finally opened his mouth. "We will have to disclose the progress of the investigation to your parents." To all the academy students' parents. The council went silent. They all might be young students of the academy, but they knew the implication of telling this case to the parents. "We can no longer delay the press conference," Headmaster Frederick said grimly. "More and more parents are urging us to disclose the case so they can determine whether this academy is safe for their younglings or not." When the entire room was still silent, Headmaster Frederick added, "And the victims' families are also pushing for proper burials and send-offs which the victims all deserve." There was no answer. Only silence. Lingering between the taut tension. "In 2 weeks, we will have a formal press conference," Headmaster Frederick announced. "We will disclose all the investigation progress. It is preferable if we can catch the serial killer by then. If not..." Headmaster Frederick gulped roughly. Then the parents' council will take over the investigation. And there is a possibility of them closing this academy. Vanessa was the first to shout, "No. The academy can't be closed. I have to graduate first before I can apply for the job I want." Felix complained as well, no companies and institutions would want to accept students from closed-down academies. "I will be the laughingstock of my family." Declan and Nolan also complained. Each looked distraught. Sebastian took in the members of the secret council. Most third-year and fourth-year students would have a hard time if the academy closed. But first-year and second-year students could just reapply to a different academy and start over their education and training, although it still wouldn't be ideal. Only Bianca looked aloof, as though the news didn't bother her, as though she never put importance to the academy. Headmaster Frederick only had silence as their answer. When they realized that, the council piped down. They realized that the only way to save the academy was to find the serial killer and solve the case. The council began investigating in silence. There was more tension in the air that day, heavier and deadlier. As though the future of students at the academy depended on them. Well, perhaps it was true. That night, Clara quietly read the report Sebastian wrote about today's investigation in Sebastian's private villa. Victim and alpha student, she murmured to herself. Clara quickly noticed that the punishment had mysteriously disappeared from official records. Only archived disciplinary notes remained. Again. Sebastian turned toward her. She hesitated, then spoke. The first beta, he mistreated the Pack's omegas. The second. Repeated harassment. The third, emotional abuse. She looked at the newest report. And now bullying. Silence. Then she looked up, catching Sebastian's eyes with her big brown ones. What if the murderer isn't targeting alphas like we thought? Sebastian frowned. What do you mean? Clara took a careful breath. What if they're targeting people who have heard omegas? Sebastian slowly nodded. Keep going. Clara swallowed. If that's true, waiting for another victim isn't enough. Sebastian folded his arms. What would you suggest? Something about Sebastian made Clara feel encouraged. He made her feel brave with her opinions. He made her feel safe in saying whatever comes to her mind. She had never felt like this before. She felt seen. What if instead of waiting until someone dies we monitor everyone's sleep? Sebastian blinked. Monitor? She nodded. If the killer starts with insomnia, we should know who suddenly begins losing sleep. Sebastian frowned. That's impossible. Maybe not. Sebastian looked at her. My friend Hannah. She studies programming. She likes building applications. Clara became more animated as the idea formed. What if she creates an academy sleep app? Students record when they sleep. The app tracks unusual sleep loss. To cover it as though an ordinary sleeping app, it will recommend healthier habits, warns if someone's sleep suddenly becomes dangerous. When Sebastian only had silence, she bit her lower lip. It wouldn't identify the killer, but maybe it could identify the next victim. Silence. Clara started massaging her fingers, wondering what Sebastian really thought of her impromptu idea. She was starting to question her own ideas when Sebastian suddenly stuck her thumb between her lips. Her eyes widened as warmth spread from her lips to her cheeks, then to her entire face. Stop chewing your lower lip, Sebastian whispered, you'll hurt yourself. His finger lingered between her lips one long second longer before he withdrew, and Clara felt the loss of warmth. Her wolf was practically grinning from ear to ear inside her while she tried so hard to usher out the thought from her mind. The thought that Sebastian and her could be more than this. But it was impossible. Right? She shoved that thought away from her brain. Sebastian cleared his throat and then said, interesting. He looked directly at Clara. I think that's the best idea anyone has given so far. The next afternoon, Sebastian brought the idea to Headmaster Frederick and Professor Whitman as well as the entire council. They praised Sebastian for the brilliant idea. Professor Whitman clapped his shoulder and Headmaster Frederick beamed. Bianca clung to him, singing praises. That's a brilliant idea, Felix added, if we can predict future victims it could save lives. Within minutes the proposal passed unanimously. Declan asked, but how are we going to make the app? He looked at Vanessa with a hopeful stare. Don't look at me, Vanessa shook her head, I can make magical items but not an app. I know some people who can create the app, Sebastian said, but they would like to be anonymous. Deep down, he felt guilty accepting all these appreciation that should have gone to Clara. He could not fathom how Bianca could take Clara's credit all the time without feeling remorse. He could not understand why Clara let another person take her glory all the damn time. The thought irritated him. Hannah almost screamed. What? Several students inside the library jumped. The headmaster approved my app? Clara put her index finger on her lips. Basically yes, he approved, but we are supposed to be anonymous. She grabbed Clara by both shoulders. Do you know what this means? Clara smiled. You'll be very busy? I'm going to change the world. She immediately opened 3 laptops. I need servers. I need sleep science. I need interface design. I need coffee. Clara chuckled. I'll help. You better. The following 3 days blurred together. On days, Clara attended classes, helped Bianca, visited her mother, and worked with Hannah after school. During the nights, she met Sebastian, helped him sleep, discussed new evidence. And every morning afterwards he insisted she eat breakfast made by him. The app launched a week later. Dream Nest. The name was simple. The design was clean, calming, with a night color tone. Students could record bedtime, sleep quality, nightmares, stress. They could receive recommendations, relaxation exercises, and breathing techniques. Hannah proudly declared, the best sleep app in the country. Clara smiled. Then quietly added something no one else knew. Each meditation recording, each breathing exercise, each background noise contained the faintest thread of her calming magic. Not enough for anyone to notice. Only enough to help people rest a little easier. The results astonished everyone. Within 5 days, average sleep across Alpha Academy improved dramatically. Even Professor Whitman admitted he felt more rested after using the app. Students praised the app endlessly. Hannah walked around campus like she'd invented fire. But Sebastian became thoughtful. Very thoughtful. One evening, after another successful session, he stared at the app statistics on his phone. Strange, he said. Clara looked up. What is? My headaches. They're better. He looked at her. Even before our sessions. Clara's heart skipped. I thought it was because of the app. He nodded slowly. So did I. Silence settled between them. Then Sebastian looked at her. Really looked at her. His golden eyes narrowed slightly. Blossom. Clara blinked. Yes? You've never lied to me, have you? Her heartbeat quickened. She forced herself to smile. I don't think so. Sebastian held her gaze for another long moment. Then looked away. Good. But his wolf remained restless. And Clara could feel it. She only hoped that whatever happens in the future, she hoped Sebastian would not hate her. Because without her knowing, she had gotten used to his presence, his gentleness, gotten used to their session together. She started hating the thought of not being able to see him again.